Between Nerds podcast, where we do not discriminate against our furry friends. Hi guys, my name is Drew Philip Elias. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Aldo Mendez, and a very special guest, Miss Vianney Sosa. What's up, guys?
Hey nerds, thank you for having me again.
Hell yeah. Dude, I do discriminate in some level, but
against furries?
Beastars is awesome.
That's evil.
Why?
I'm gonna sit here for the next 2 hours and try to talk you out of that mindset.
Okay. I'm welcome to the idea.
Before we get into that discussion, I do want to go over some housekeeping notes at the beginning of this episode. Do not forget, everyone, that we are donating to the Humane Society of El Paso for the month of August. To help us donate, all you have to do is like and retweet original tweets and Instagram posts that use hashtag NerdyPaws. That is NERDYPAWS. And every time you use hashtag NerdyPaws in an original tweet or Instagram post, we will be entering you into our August giveaway. We give away some cool anime nerd shit, some figures, normally some like high quality figures.
And if you make yourselves known to us on Twitter or Instagram at Between Nerds, TikTok Between Nerds, YouTube Between Nerds, or our email at betweennerdspodcast@gmail.com, if we get to know you and we know what anime you like, we'll definitely cater that giveaway to you and have something that you like instead of having some random ass Beastar shit on your wall when you don't watch Beastars.
Maybe they want Beastars. I feel like everyone secretly wants Beastar stuff on their wall.
Yeah, it's like a guilty pleasure kind of thing that everybody.
No, not even. I will never be shamed by enjoying Beastars.
No, me neither. But there's people out there that have seen Beastars and they're gonna be out in public and be like, "No, I don't watch that shit."
Nah, fuck them. But getting into our core conversation here, Vianney, what did you think about season 2 of Beastars?
So it was, I guess I didn't expect everything that happened. For one, I always enjoy the music in the background. I feel like I acknowledged it a lot more this season. It's a type of soundtrack where I'd be down just to listen to on its own.
The vinyl is like $100.
Yeah,
I've seen some bids for like $300.
It's always like smooth jazz in the background.
Delicious,
yeah,
crisp.
I'm all like just like with my snapping my fingers.
Yeah, it's like the Cowboy Bebop soundtrack in 2021. It's like
but they're not trying to shove it into you.
Right, like it's not like a funk genre or anything. It's just like you want some like
some vibe, like
you want some smooth jazz in the background. We got you. You want like some pop dance swing music. We got you too. Like
hell yeah, I like that. The music is fucking ridiculous. The animation is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah,
just being 3D modeled all the way in, and they're not scared. Shout
out to Studio Orange. Like we bring this up like every week. The only 3D modeling I ever want to see ever is by Studio Orange, because
Mappa's doing a good job.
Mappa, but like their entire shows aren't 3D modeled. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the thing about Studio Orange is that it looks like a high quality video game. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm playing an RPG. I feel like I'm that character. I feel like I'm watching...
Are you going to bring up Persona 5 again?
No, actually, I was going to bring up... What is that Rockstar Games game from like... I want to say the early 2000s, where instead of it being Grand Theft Auto, it's like Grand Theft Auto, but he's at a boarding school. Bully.
Yes.
I feel like I'm in Bully, and
Bully
I'm watching.
Was dope.
Bully was dope. I'm that character. I'm Legoshi here.
You're right.
Right.
You're right.
Wait, which
one? There was this video game back in the day. For some time, video games in America tried to get very raunchy, but it never took off. Because there was like Bully, and it was a video game literally of you being a dick in school.
Have you played Grand Theft Auto? Well, you have played Grand Theft Auto. Okay, so Vianney's hacked into all those Grand Theft Auto accounts, and she's played some games, right? Yeah. So imagine that, except instead of you being whatever the main three guys were in the most recent Grand Theft Auto, you're just a fucking nerdy bully at a boarding school.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. So you're stealing bikes and scooters, and like you have to go to class, and there's mini games and
money and shit.
What?
Yeah, there's mini games in like chemistry class and stuff. And
how funny.
Bro, I can't remember that one Playboy game that came out. Remember that?
No, I don't. What are you talking about?
Did you say Playboy?
Yeah, it was a Playboy game. I can't remember exactly the name of it, but it was about a frat guy that was just going to frat parties. Drew? You were Drew? But it was like this funky, nerdy dude, fat, chunky dude that was going into parties and was trying to get laid. But it was a game I think
trying to get him laid.
Produced by Playboy.
All the men is I've never tried to get laid in my life.
It's crazy.
I think you have a poor understanding of me as a person. Yeah, that's not for nerds.
That's not for nerds. I'm sorry.
It goes against my nerdy code.
I'm sorry.
Sorry to break it to you.
But fucking BEASTARS, guys. Goddamn, you weren't here for our first conversation of BEASTARS.
You're speaking to Vianney?
Yeah, I am speaking. I am speaking to Vianney.
He recorded all on his own.
Talking to a crazy person. I don't know what to tell you from... Last time we talked about this, we thought we were gonna fucking follow hardcore on Haru and Legoshi.
Aldo thought it was gonna be 3D modeled hentai for a second.
Hey.
No, I agree, because I guess that's what I was trying to portray, like, that I wasn't expecting any of what happened in season 2, because I really thought it was going to be more towards the relationship of Legoshi and Haru, and it kind of wasn't. Like, it was, like, his intentions were, but the actual relationship wasn't really shown as much as it did on season 1. Does that make sense?
Season 1 reminds me of, like... an early 2000s, like, Adam Sandler rom-com almost. Like, it's kind of adult, it's kind of kiddish, it is about the romance.
Dates kind of
right,
shit.
that's what I was going to say. Or, like, How to Lose a Man and whatever. What's that movie called? Yeah, that one. It reminds me, season 1 reminds me of that. Season 2, up until, like, the last 15 minutes of episode 24.
So Scooby-Doo-ish.
It reminded me of The Godfather, dog.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? Because
it got too serious at one point. I was like, huh?
The meme about BEASTARS is that it's just a bunch of badass theater kids, right? But because it's about, like, theater and, like, being such a big actor and big emotion coming from teenagers, it feels like The Godfather. Especially, like, once Yakuza and the mob are involved.
I brought up this point earlier before the recording. We just finished... Me and Vianney were, falling a little bit behind, and we watched the last 3 episodes right here with Drew. But if you guys remember a conversation from Berserk, it is the fucking same fucking deal. It's the same relationship between Legoshi and Louis, and it's just Griffith and fucking Guts.
So, okay, let me make sure I have all of our references straight so far. So it's a mixture of Cowboy Bebop with The Godfather, 50 First Dates, and what did you just refer to?
Berserk.
To Berserk, right? So just
That's why it's so great.
Yeah, just making sure I have all our themes correct here.
But they serve it to you in aniforms. What do you call them?
Amorphized animals.
Amorphized animals. And a lot of people are not with it. They're not willing to watch it, but there's a lot of themes in this anime that only make sense being in an animal world.
Oh my god, yeah.
I agree. In as opposed to like Zootopia or something like that, which I'm sure everyone's seen at this point, it's like it's meant for adults. Like BEASTARS very much is like TVMA. Like it's for mature audiences. But what was gimmicky about Zootopia, it's the exact opposite concept, because the narrative takeaway from Zootopia was that like you can't judge a book by its cover, because even though somebody might be a scary lion and be a predator, sometimes they really do have other people's best intentions in mind. BEASTARS takes away like that childish veneer, and it's really like, hey, carnivores are carnivores, herbivores are herbivores. Like, people can't get away from their real nature. Like, yeah, you can work against it, but at a certain point you are who you are.
And I think that's the weird part and cool part about BEASTARS, because as I think Aldo said that a lot of things that happened within this whole season, it just wouldn't make sense like anywhere else. Like the fact that they're still like showing that they're carnivores and everything, but at the same time they're also pretending to be humans. And so it gets a little disturbing of the thought of it sometimes.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, because you can definitely put like a Gretzko in regular humanoids.
Yeah.
And make perfect sense.
Well, what was so cool narratively about Odd Taxi, even, because everyone acted like humans. Like, we're not getting this other layer of writing that we're talking about in BEASTARS, where the certain parts of the narrative and the scene are written around how they're really these animals. Odd Taxi was just like,
they're animals.
They're humans. They're always acting like humans, but they look like whatever the main guy thought their animal representation was.
Mm-hmm.
And what I like so much about Beastars, but what like it's like how you're describing people know superficially what happened in season 1 and that turned them off. It's like how Game of Thrones, everyone thinks it's about like incest or something, right? Mm-hmm. Which if you've seen Game of Thrones or if you've read like the A Song of Ice and Fire novels, like that's so not what it is. Like that's the shock factor there to sell it. Mm. But
even
that
like the dragons.
Exactly. There's all these cool shock factor, like easily digestible. You want to see some 3D animated dragon kind of shit, but that is definitely not what the narrative's actually about. Like it's trying to tell a whole different story, and it's almost sad that it had to market itself in a certain way that also turned off 80% of the audience it would have.
Yeah, even in anime, even like really like good anime fans won't watch it just because of that, just because of the whole taboo of the whole thing.
No, I agree. But getting into what I mean about season 2 having it reminds me of different movies than season 1. It's like the opening of season 2 is like immediately after season 1. Like there's no break time there. It's like days after season 1 just ended. We're not entirely sure what Louis is. We're not sure what's exactly going on between Haru and Legoshi. And they're like trying to catch us up without trying to catch us up, because it's kind of like, hey, we're just going, like we're just in the narrative and we're not going to backtrack on anything really.
Correct. And if I'm not mistaken, the last season left us with letting the audience know that Legoshi knows the killer. Correct?
Kind of, but not really. He has like a newfound like motivation that like he has to figure it out.
No, well, isn't it at the end where we see a new happy-go-lucky Legoshi throughout his day, and then at the end we follow the point of view, the POV of like this guy following Legoshi or something, and he like reaches out to him and he's like, "Hey, what's up? It's you.
Okay,
let's get back to the club."
You're right. You're exactly right.
Yes.
I think like I was mishearing how like you were saying it, because you were right, because in that instance, Legoshi doesn't know that he knows the killer. Correct. But you're right. Like, yes, he knows the killer.
The audience is led to believe that he knows who the killer is without knowing who the killer is.
Exactly. And what's crazy is, like, early on in this season, we get, like, this conversation between, like, student... like school board members or something like that. I'm not entirely sure what this scene is. It's, like, the tiger... principal of the school and like a bunch of other important sounding people in suits, including herbivores and carnivores, and they're talking about like Beastar selection at this school.
Let me get a shot at this. Like we know how. I'm sorry, baby, but we'll direct some questions to you right now. But like this board meeting that you're talking about, as far as all the anime that we watch, we know that anime takes very seriously like club schools and stuff like that. So what we're seeing here is like an academic like console with like a major city, because we don't really know where this school stands in the world of Beastars.
But before that, the reason why they were even like having that like conference, basically, remember that in the first episode they're introducing students like, oh, they're hearing like something in the ceiling, like that
the
one
rattle.
Yeah, like the rattle, and like supposedly someone caught something from a camera and stuff like that. So like that has been going around the school, and then that's when they had that conference where it's like, hey, like what are we gonna do about like this as well? Because I mean, previously, like, you know, someone died here, right, and now something's going on.
And then at this like council like meeting of whatever like elected officials they are.
Whoa.
The lion, who is a carnivore, and I don't think we made it very we didn't really touch on of how crazy is to be a carnivore and a herbivore in this world, because herbivores are kind of like the lower class at some point, because of this like unspoken agreement that the carnivores have with the herbivores. So I believe it's a principal, was it the principal of the school? Like the
I think the tiger's the principal. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's
I
getting.
thought he was like the mayor or something. No?
We met the mayor last season.
He's
He's
the
a
one
lion.
with the teeth. He's the one with the.
Oh,
He
with,
has the
like,
shaved down teeth.
That's true. Okay.
And he told Louis to stay away from
So
the
who's that
Yishigami.
little squirrel?
So that's what I'm saying. I think they're student council members or student board members or something. Because what they're talking about is like the name of the show is Beastars. Season 1, we have no sense of. Well, we do have a sense of what a Beastar is, but like it's never actually important narratively. And a Beastar is essentially like a star student. Like you're like a prodigy almost. You know what I mean? Like you're the Beast Star. And what they're talking about is I'm trying to name a new Beastar. Louis, our dear head of the acting club, theater club. He's like supposed to be the strong-spoken, handsome male buck.
Survival, like he was a survival. I'm sorry,
like a meat market survivor.
Yeah, survivor. There you go.
Yeah, and
I wanted to say survival.
He was the best candidate in season 1 to be the Beast Star, to be the next upcoming star in this beast community. But he's been missing since the end of season 1. And what we know about season 1 is that he like kind of raided a lion mob den after Legoshi had already rescued Haru the rabbit.
At that fight with the mob at the end of season 1, yes.
The last scene that he's in, we don't even see him because all we hear is a gunshot. So we're led to believe that maybe he just got shot by these lion mobsters and stuff like that. Right. So this like student board body is trying to discuss who the next Beastar candidate should be. And there's like a rodent character. He looks like a mouse almost. I don't know, like a hamster
squirrel.
or a gerbil.
I thought it was a squirrel.
Something like some kind of rodent. I don't know. And he's like speaking with a microphone, and he's discussing that like, hey, like why most of the Beastars have been carnivores. Why can't we get an herbivore? And it sounds like it reminds me of like when early on in Obama's first campaign for president. Like this, but I'm not talking politics or anything like that. And I was in high school at the time. No, I was like 16, 17 years old at the time, right? And I remember people discussing like, oh, like we should have a president just because we've never had like a president that looked like this before. And I'm Hispanic and mixed with like Pacific Islander, and like my dad's also half white. So I remember not understanding like what the reason for that was, and maybe that was a little immature in my thinking, because that representation gives other people the motivation to be like, oh, I can do that too.
Correct.
So that's kind of this herbivore's logic in this meeting is like, no, like the herbivores need representation in leadership. So,
and that's where Louis was heading for.
Right. So that's why Louis was just like this crossroads of just like being the best fucking candidate to be the next Beastar.
But as far as we fucking know, he's fucking dead, shut down in a mob fucking castle.
Right.
Yeah. And
but the consensus from that meeting is the principal of the school basically says the next Beastar candidate should be the one that figures out who the murderer was for the first year student last season. Tem. He was a goat, right?
Alpaca?
He was an alpaca, excuse me. Yeah,
because he was like, what's the difference between sheep and alpaca? It's like, oh, sheep would love to have this wool or whatever because it's all silky and shit or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, but so we start on season 2 after this council shit is happening. The students are hearing that rattle. They
think it's a ghost
that Vianney's talking about by the place where Tem was murdered.
Right.
So I think it was like a cheetah and another animal, maybe like a weasel or something like that they went to go check on this quote unquote ghost because they thought it was like haunted.
Yep.
And they did heard it, and they did feel all these eyes looking at them. And that's where the words start spreading out throughout the school, and everybody's like, "Oh shit!" You know, there's this shit going on as that meeting was happening,
right?
With a console,
right?
Yeah, I think they were saying that it was like, what's his name? Spirit. What was his name? The one that died. Tem. I wanted to say Lem.
Lamb.
But and then after that, Legoshi was the only one who kept hearing it because of his like superpower ears.
Yep.
And I think there's a point where he was in the locker room I think that's where
Yeah,
he
it was the
then-
locker room after theater practice.
He was cleaning up, right? Or
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, and then like he hears it again, and then, but this time like you end up seeing who it was, and apparently it was was it a rattlesnake?
Yeah, it was a rattlesnake.
Like the whole first episode turns into like fucking Harry Potter.
Yeah. Oh, I loved it. I loved
Yeah.
it when I was watching it at the time. Like,
Without the homophobia.
I was. There's homophobia in Harry Potter.
Well, J.K. Rowling's is a little homophobic. Isn't
Oh, she's
Transphobic. I'm sorry.
She's weird.
Yeah.
What was I talking about? But yeah, I remember it reminding me of Harry Potter because he's cleaning the restroom,
Yeah.
and
We know the ghost scene with that girl in the restroom.
Yeah.
right, there's that ghost scene with the girl in the restroom, and all of a sudden, just like this giant rattlesnake pops out of the roof, right?
Just like Harry Potter had a huge ass fucking snake.
Right, and it did remind me of Harry Potter right away, and I got super excited.
Chamber of Secrets, is it? Right?
Yeah, the first one.
The second one, isn't it?
No, it's the first one.
Philosopher's Stone is the first one.
Right, but the snake's in the first one.
Oh, is it? Really?
The basilisk?
Yeah, it's like when he starts finding out that he can like talk to.
I thought it was a Chamber of Secrets.
That's when to Vianney's point, that's when he learns he can speak to snakes.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so it reminds me of that scene a lot. Like this snake's wearing like a Jotaro hat from part 3 of JoJo's.
No, the girl from Akame ga Kill.
Yeah.
She is the snake anaconda giant form of the girl. What's her name again? Do you remember?
The ice bitch from Akame ga Kill. I don't remember her name.
No, but it's the same fucking character. And right now, I feel like Studio Orange is really trying to show you that, hey, we're not just gonna do like humanoid animals. Like they really gave us a snake, which was not.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah, which was not a humanoid snake.
What you do need to remember though is that Beastars is based off of a light novel. So I think she is in the light novel. Like, I'm not sure that's like a directing decision by Studio Orange. Even though, like, to your point...
Oh, you're right. The way I'm saying it, you're right. Yes, she is in the novel.
She is in the novel. But to your point that I do want to bring up, the directing in Studio Orange, like, you can say... You cannot like the music. You cannot like the animation style. You cannot like the story, even. But what's so wild about Beastars, the anime, is that Shinichi Matsumi, like the lead director for the anime, like he's on his shit. Like that's why we keep referencing all these different works, because artistically and like stylistically, it feels like a high quality, artsy, Oscar nominated film.
You're
like,
right.
Every episode in this.
I forgot it was like based on a light novel, but the I guess what I'm trying to say is the animation on a slow moving animal like a snake, even in slow like frames per second, it looks very good.
Her name is Rakumi.
Rakumi, the six eyes.
Six Eyes, yeah, that's her
Yeah.
nickname. She goes by 6 Eyes, basically.
Yeah, and she gets very creepy.
She's
Well, like her skin is
She
pretty.
gets very touchy.
Yeah, but like I was gonna say, like the name itself, like obviously makes sense because like as you're watching this, like her skin literally has like prints of like eyes, pretty much,
right.
and which is what the students previously like had, I guess, recorded like a million eyes.
Those were the
looking
eyes
at-
that they felt that they were looking at them. Yeah.
but it was just a snake.
Well, she feels like Hagrid in this scene because
Absolutely.
she's giving Legoshi the call to adventure, because you're right. So we're getting that cutaway from the meeting where they're deciding like the next Beastar is whoever figures out who the killer is, and then Rakumi, 6 Eyes, in the same scene in the cutaway, she's like, "Hey Legoshi, like I know he was your best friend. Why don't you figure out who the fuck the killer was?" This is what I found out. No, she doesn't want to give him information at first. She's like, all the information I could give you about my investigation into who
already
killed
know.
him. She's like, you already know, or it's not from a reliable source, so I don't want to tell you, and you go down that rabbit hole and you end up being wrong.
Yeah, it almost felt like a video game at that point.
That's what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm in a Rockstar video game. I'm in Bully. Like somebody's assigning me a quest, and there's like, here is what you're doing for this narrative in the story.
But you know what I thought was funny? Okay, I remember the Lego she was actually doing his laundry.
Yeah.
So like
That's
when
we're stupid.
He wasn't
so
cleaning,
like
guys.
when she appeared, he's like, okay, hold on a sec. Like let me get my clothes from the dryer or something like that. Where she's like, wait, he's not startled with the fact that I just like jumped out.
Because he could smell her too. So not only does he have good hearing, he could smell her too.
Yeah, that's right.
That was before he gets the cold, which kind of confused me because they never explained how he got the cold.
Well, I don't know, people get sick.
Yeah, I know, but it was weird. I don't know. It confused
Where
me
did
a little
COVID
bit.
come from, Aldo?
I don't know, brother. I don't know. But
then
yeah.
she starts getting really weird and like tries to provoke him.
That's
at
what I was
some
gonna
point.
say.
She's testing his personality.
She gets infatuated at him because she was observing, because she walks through the fucking ducts of the fucking school. She was observing him and his performance at the play when he was getting fucking violent with the tiger, with Tony the Tiger.
Yep.
And she's like, oh, you're a fucking animal like I am. Oh, and she starts to fucking like
Well, I really
wrapping
think
around him.
I really think that she was testing him. Because she's the adult in this scenario, number one. And, like, Beastars tries to keep it, like, adults are adults, kids are kids kind of thing, right? So all this stupid shit happens, like, people under 18.
And that's why I'm saying it feels like the Akame got killed girl, because herself was the same way. She's like, oh, I know this kid is young, but when he matures, he's gonna be all mine. And that was the same fucking dialogue.
I think she had an idea of who she wanted to, like, assign this task to. Who she wanted to give this call to adventure. And she wanted to make sure that before she assigned somebody to find a literal murderer, she wanted to test his character and make sure he's not a fucking weirdo. That's how I read it.
But I think they also throw in the sexual tension because it is like a novella type anime.
If you think a snake is sexy, that's on you, bro. I don't know what to tell you about that one.
No, just kidding. No, and then, like, you know what I thought was pretty cool, too? I mean, I know they did this in season 1 as well, but I guess I really paid attention to it this time, where, like, have you seen Dexter?
Yes, ma'am.
Like, I like the inner monologue that they do. Like, it reminds me of Dexter.
I agree, and I think I have an idea of why you wouldn't remember it from season 1, because in season 1 it was always just like, oh, who is this girl? Why is she talking to me?
I'm horny.
I'm so horny and scared. I'm so nervous.
Yeah, because I even asked Aldo, I'm like, did they do this last season? He's like, yeah, they've been doing this throughout the whole thing. I'm like, I don't know.
They did, but it was all stupid conversations. It
The
was
chick, everybody has inner dialogue. In
right.
this.
Oh, I forgot the chicken had an inner dialogue. But because,
right.
and I think I know that's why I'm saying I feel like I understand like why you don't remember it from season 1, because it was never about anything. It was either an excuse to give like cool bits of 2D animation, and it was like so awkward that like you wouldn't remember it. But in season 2, it's really like him working through
Trying to get over this girl.
Or no, figuring out a murder mystery.
Oh, okay, that too.
It reminds me of another Rockstar game. What's the one that's about like the 1930s where you're like a murder detective? It's called like Noir or something.
Yeah, I can't remember. Las Vegas something? No. Noir.
L.A. Noir.
L.A. Noir.
L.A. Noir.
I know it was a city.
So,
yeah.
and I don't know why I'm just thinking of like strictly Rockstar games from the late 2000s.
And like
but
you said, it reminds you of like The Godfather almost, which is almost like the same fucking thing. But
it's because it's hard to compare things to The Godfather because like The Godfather's the fucking Godfather. You know what I mean? Like The Godfather is like this narrative masterpiece that like it's almost blasphemy for you to compare anything to The Godfather. But
it's ridiculous. I showed her that movie. We didn't finish it because it's a stupid long movie. But
3.5 hours.
We were watching it and she's like, "Wow, this is like we were talking about it. It's very well filmed. Like the shots are kind of crazy. The aesthetic is fucking crazy.
The acting's like A1.
Yeah, it's
like."
ridiculous.
Yeah,
and it does feel like you're watching that.
Yeah, Beastars is like that, but for like 24 episodes. Well, season 1's not gonna feel like that, but season 2 very much so. So when he gets this assignment from Six Eyes, the rest of the season the rest half of the season is him trying to figure out like who the actual murderer was.
Yeah, because she didn't want to tell him. she's like, I may know who it was, but I also may not, you know. And he's like, okay. But after that, like, I think they ended up moving on to a part where Legoshi was about to fight with was it the tiger? Right?
Something like that.
Because I know that's when Pina was introduced. That's when, like, he pretty much stopped them. And then I don't really recall, like, exactly what happened. Do you guys remember?
It's because Legoshi was... So, in the acting club, the acting troupe, it's separated between, like, the actual actors and, like, the tech hands, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, the carnivores, because they're usually stronger, like, end up being the tech hands. And Legoshi, after getting this assignment from Six Eyes to figure out who the carnivore was that killed Tem, he's super awkward. So he's non-subtly, like, asking all the carnivores in the acting club, like, yo, have you ever thought about eating somebody? Yeah. Like, isn't that so weird?
How about Tam? Did you guys eat Tam?
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's talking like he got a mic on.
Yeah.
So you're right. Like, the tiger character is like, what the fuck did you just say to me, bro? Like, why would I eat Tam? Like, and he gets super triggered and mad. Yeah. And that's where
I forgot he had said that.
That's where we're introduced to Pina, our bighorn sheep character,
and another Griffith character.
Yeah, he's marketed as Legoshi, Louis 2.0, but he's in no way, like, on the same caliber as Louis.
It gets very crazy,
he's
bro.
He's way more dramatic.
It's
dramatic.
It's dramatic, bro.
And at the same point, we're getting cutaways from, like, the actual Louis, because Louis is now
not dead.
Not dead. He's very much not dead. He's still with the lion gang,
the Shishigumi.
The Shishigumi, and they're, like, propositioning him to be the new leader of this lion mob group.
Yeah, because when we get the cuts into him, he starts having a flashback, like, right away about that same night when he was getting approached by the injured Shishigumi leader,
right,
that Legoshi beat up,
right,
and he fucking blasts him.
Yeah, so, like, because he's an herbivore and because he's, like, such a proud deer, he's always really insecure that carnivores have this leg up on him.
Yeah, he feels like he needs to prove himself, like he needs to be alpha all the time.
Right, so the leader of the Shishigumi, this lion, he's got a gun to his face and he's like, beg. I want to see you beg like an herbivore would. Mm-hmm. And he just blasts him in the face, and then the rest of the Shishigumi take, like, this super
honor code
right, like this medieval honor code kind of thing. They're like, you killed our boss, now you're our boss.
Yeah,
like
prison rules. You kill mine.
Yeah, who was that one guy, the
Ibuki, yeah, he's like the oldest of the.
Yeah, he's like the right hand, I guess, and he's like
he's the OG.
Yeah, he's like, all right, well, I guess this is our leader. But the weird part here is that they all made him eat meat in order to.
It was very crazy.
Right.
And I'm telling you, this moment, I guess this is the first moment that I remember that is a very good example of this anime reminding you that these things don't make sense if it's not in this anime.
Right. So the scene is they're propositioning him to be the leader. And, like, he thinks he's kidnapped. They're like, these lions are fucking suckering me and they're about to go eat me. Like... Yeah. And they sit him down for, like, that scene from Kill Bill Volume 1, mm-hmm, where Lucy Liu's character is...
she's having the wife for dinner? Or something like that? When she's having dinner? Yeah.
When she's having that Japanese mobster meeting, right? Mm-hmm. When they're trying to decide that she's the boss. Yeah, and she slices somebody's head off. It's that same thing. So they're all sitting on their knees in front of plates, and they're having steaks. Because all these lions, and because they're in the mob, they get the privilege of actually eating meat. So they give Louis an actual plate, and he still thinks it's a trick, and he's smelling it, and you get this crazy fucking scene. It goes all, like, black and grays, and all you see in color is, like, an orange and, like, a bluish green wisp of, like, scent.
Yeah, so I think he's smelling the lions in the room,
right,
and the meat in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
But him as a herbivore, like, this thing doesn't smell good to him.
Right.
It's just
it's like choking him. Like, you can see the smoke, like, wrapping around him, and it looks like it's choking him. But at that same time, he smells the lions like you're describing. So it's like, oh fuck, like if I don't prove myself in front of these lions, they're still gonna fucking eat me. And they try reassuring him. They're like, yeah, this is a buffalo that like owed us money or some shit. Like, so no, don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
Like, just eat him. Don't feel guilty about it.
And this is a part where I said earlier that kind of, I guess me overthinking it is just a little disturbing because, I mean, he's not, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, I put myself in his point of view, I guess. I'm like, it's like me eating human. You know what I mean? Like,
and it's weird because this anime, it's trying to tell you that it's not that like that.
And I know, but like, I also, like, there's scenes where I'm just like, this isn't right, but it is with this show only. Like,
I completely understand you. Yeah, like, it almost seems so weird to me because I feel like the carnivores in the story are given up more than the herbivores are as far as like how the faculty and the school works.
Right.
Because the carnivores at the school are eating like very like simple proteins like eggs, nuts.
There's like bamboo shakes and shit.
Yeah, no, not even bugs. Bugs are even seen as a like growth hormone. You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
It's so crazy. Like, even, like, the blood that the tiger in season 1 was
So it's
sniffing.
just a bunch of fake meats. It's a bunch of fake proteins.
Yeah.
And it's... It's just... You're right, because I haven't brought this up in a while, but, like, there really are certain stories that can only be told in anime. And this is one of those. Because imagine this trying to be a live-action film. Like, it literally couldn't work. Imagine this being a television show.
Stripper titties, bro? Stripper deer titties?
She was a gazelle.
A gazelle? Whatever, bro.
Gazelle titties on screen? It's not happening.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely
not.
not.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why it's so cool that, like, even if you're, like, a film buff or somebody that's not, like, strictly anime-centric, but you love, like, the storytelling, like, modern-day literature kind of storytelling, you have to like dip your toes in a little bit to anime because Beastars is one of those. Like, you're not going to get this from any other book. You're not going to get this from any other film, any other show, any other musical. Like, there's nothing else that can tell this story right here.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is fucking ridiculous. I was telling Vianney, even when Legoshi went through his training, I think we're walking into this, right?
Not about yet.
Not yet. Where are we?
It's when Legoshi's like realizing that Haru still has feelings for Louis.
Oh yeah. Haru and Legoshi are meeting in the staircase, like in
they're like hiding.
The one Shinkai
she's
movie.
She's like embarrassed of him or something like that.
The Garden of Words.
Garden of Words. There you go.
But yeah, so they're meeting up after school hours. Like, he's going up to the
random times.
The what is it called?
Staircase?
The fire escape almost.
I think it's just staircase for like the outside.
Okay, so there's like a steel staircase like on the outside of the building, and it reminded me of like a New York City staircase.
It reminded me of
that.
like in high school, like the outside stairways. But just longer.
Malwood was poor and we didn't have stairs.
Oh, well, now you guys have like another fucking from building entrance.
Oh, I saw that. That's weird.
Shout out to El Paso. We're talking about El Paso things, guys. Welcome.
But yeah, so we're getting Haru's like inner monologue right here, and we're getting Legoshi at the same time, and Haru's just like, who's this wolf that like rescued me and like almost died fighting a mob of lions to rescue me and spent the whole night at me at a sex motel
and almost ate me
and but now we're still dating, but we're not dating, but he's so strong, but he's so awkward.
She's so annoying.
Last time we talked about this, we had a lot of questions that I believe were answered in this fucking second season.
I don't remember a question.
You were like, what the fuck happened to Panda? Where the fuck is Panda? Did he die? Where the fuck is Louis? Did he die? You got that one answered.
Right.
And then Haru, we were talking about like, holy shit, we might
start dating.
We might follow a season where Legoshi and Haru are dating. But
And
we didn't.
Psyched.
That's what's kind of annoying, because I'm starting to get the sense that Beastars is really not about their relationship. Because season 1 would lead you to believe that at a certain point, maybe it is, will they, won't they kind of thing. But season 2 is very much like, not.
It's not happening this
If
season.
you're out here to hear about some crazy ass story about like a wolf and a rabbit dating, that's not what this is about.
Because we still have to solve the mystery of who the fuck killed
Right, this is
Ted.
still a murder mystery. This is still like a mob flick, all at the same time, and like the actual relationship between the rabbit matters so
Non-existent.
little
It's
by
non-existent.
season 2,
Yeah.
which is sad because Haru got so much like writing and development in season 1. Season 2, she gets like
Burley.
6 scenes total.
Yeah.
It was weird, but honestly, I'm not really mad at it. Because the way they delivered like the investigation is pretty good. The murder mystery.
No, I'm not saying. Yeah, I'm not saying it's
yeah.
bad. It's just like, will I ever understand if the will they won't they won't question? Or are they just gonna keep stringing me along forever
You're
on
a
this?
hopeless romantic, bro. It's okay.
Hey man,
But then after that, what ends up happening is that once he finds out that he's like, oh, well, she still has feelings for Louis, like he.
well
can't-
he brought it up. He was being weird about it.
Yeah.
Right, but I was gonna point out that like after he's like basically thinking to himself like, oh my god, like this is pointless, blah blah. He's also realizing like, oh, like I wish I wasn't sick. Like you can tell he has like a stuffy nose, and then out of nowhere, like that's when that scene that Aldo mentioned was where like someone was behind him.
Right.
And I think that's when like he got attacked.
Right. So Louis is sitting outside of his dorm room, like kind of just sitting in the grass, just being a fucking weirdo like he is. He's just some awkward big ass wolf, right? Mm-hmm. And he's thinking to himself, he's like, well, what am I going to do about Haru? Okay, whatever. I'm not going to think about Haru. Mm-hmm. What am I going to do about this murder mystery? Well, we know that it's somebody ginormous. We know that it's somebody super scary. I really wish I could smell things right now, and then maybe I could go like...
And that's where the cold came in from, because I don't know if it was because of the subtitles or the dub, but like they're never really touched on how bad his cold is.
To Vianney's point, he brought it up once. He was really like, man, I love the way she smells. I wish I could smell her right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
He's just weird. You know what I mean?
He had kind of brought it up like maybe 2 episodes previous to that, and then I think that's when like it was like the whole snake thing where he's like, I hear something but I can't smell.
Yes.
And you know what I thought it was? I thought it was because of the injury that he got in season 1.
I thought he had COVID.
He started COVID.
but the not smelling thing becomes a very a deterrent for Legoshi at one point.
Right. And that's what's cool about Beastars too. I keep talking about the directing, but even the director here has like a real sense of like how episodic like storytelling needs to be, because each episode has a cliffhanger. Like fucking what's the one with Heisenberg?
Breaking Bad.
Even Breaking Bad level cliffhangers. You know what I mean?
This is a Breaking Bad podcast.
Every episode ends with just something wild happening, and you're just like, I can't stop. Like, I literally can't stop right now. Mm-hmm. Even like Dexter, like you were talking about. Because every episode of Dexter is the same exact thing.
It's getting a reboot, isn't it?
Or yeah, it's getting a reboot.
Oh, I hate
a
the last
reboot
episode.
or like another season or
season. It's getting a whole season.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
It deserves another season.
I don't know if the producers and the directors are the same, but I know like the main actor is coming back.
Yeah, that's right.
But anywho, I'm just gonna go back to that one part where Legoshi gets attacked, and then they're just showing him being like, well, he's getting beat up. And at this point where he ends up getting, I think, whoever it was, bites him. And then he gets a taste of, like, the blood where he's like, I need to remember this?
No. So he's sitting outside of the dorm, and then somebody ginormous, like, bops him up over the head and then holds his head down. And Legoshi can't see because he's underneath somebody's shoe, and he can't smell because he has a cold.
And that's how massive that dude is. That he has his whole ass.
Because in season 1, we saw Legoshi take on like 20 lions. So Legoshi is like stacked. So if this guy's bigger than him, we're like, oh fuck, this guy's. You're thinking like a bull or something. I don't know what I was thinking at the time.
Honestly, it didn't trigger any thoughts into my mind.
Me neither. I have no idea who it was.
Like,
I was just like, this guy's huge. That was my only takeaway. And so he's blindfolded and he's like tied up by his hands and his feet, and he's taken to like a shed or something. We don't know where he's at.
And we get that very cool like chalkboard animation again in season 2, which I enjoy, because there's no better way to portray like.
It's because normally, even if
your senses are shut.
Right. If Legoshi couldn't see, he could see like colors and smells and
like
stuff like that.
Daredevil shit.
Right, but even not being able to smell right now, everything's just so black and white to him, and all he hears is just this giant figure like pulling him around. And the kidnapper didn't bite him, Vianney, but Legoshi did, because Legoshi's like, how am I gonna remember who this is if I can't smell it? He's like, I need to be able to taste him. So when he hears at a certain point that he's standing right in front of him, and like maybe his mouth's open and he's like breathing, he hears him breathing, he just kind of like open jaw just grabs him. Like, just jaw grabs him, jaw to jaw.
That's when he was like, I need to remember this.
I need to remember this taste. And he's, like, neurotic about it. But he's just getting beat the fuck up at the same time.
But after he ends up... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
After he ends up taking, like, a bite with this guy, I think he ends up leaving. And then at that point, they do, like... Well, they do a scene where he's... what's his name? Jack, his best friend, where
Golden
he gets a call where like it's just him breathing. He's like, "What? Something's up." So he goes running, and he finds him on the floor. He's all beat up.
Well, Jack at first was like, "I wonder where he is," but he heard the creaking of a windmill that's outside of like one of the like.
Where he had an idea where.
So he was like, I've heard that creaking before, so he goes immediately to that windmill
because he's a dog. I mean, he knows.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what's so cool about like the golden retriever aspect to it. It's like fucking Lassie or some shit. Like go get him. Go figure out where Legoshi is.
What boy? There's 10 clowns stuck in a well. Come on.
But I'm glad you said that, because I forgot he's a dog. You know,
you do forget
like,
this.
It's so
his characters are animals, and the story is so well told. It's so weird. Legoshi is still fucked up on the floor.
I thought he was blind for a second because his eyes are like all bloodied up, and they put a giant bandage over like his red eye. I was like, holy shit, did Legoshi just go full Zorro from One Piece here? So he's missing an eye now.
And right now, not even thinking about it, when I mentioned that it is like Daredevil, it does kind of take a mask of like a vigilante.
Yeah.
You know, like Legoshi kind of like...
He's Batman right now.
Yeah, he's fucking Batman. Goes from Harry Potter to Batman. It's crazy.
I can't get over how good this is. You know what I mean? Like, it just brings up... And it seems fluid at the time. Mm-hmm. Like, at the time, you're not thinking like, whoa, this is...
I'm not thinking about Haru right now.
This is such like a different scene. Like, this reminds me of Batman. This reminds me of just everything else. And it's so good because Legoshi gets out. And he gets...
He tells Jack, he's like... Dog,
I'm dipping out.
I'm out.
Literally, dog.
I'm out. That's funny.
Yeah, so he ends up telling him like, no, like I'm not gonna go back to school. Like this is the last time you're gonna see me.
Tell everybody I'm like in a family emergency or some shit.
Visit my grandpa or something like that. And then I think that's when I think he was asking for food, or I don't know how he got back with the panda.
He was looking for the panda because he had
at his bamboo stand.
Right. He had an idea that he needed to get back with the panda because he needed to learn more about like how to defend himself. Like he wanted to learn how to fight. He wanted to be trained. So he knows that a panda eats bamboo. So he's just hanging out at the bamboo stand. He's like, "Hey, have you seen this character's?" But Legoshi's so awkward. He's couldn't
actually trying to buy bamboo.
Too.
Right.
He's actually trying to buy bamboo too, and he's talking to this turtle about fucking bamboo, something that he doesn't know anything about. It's like, how much do you want? It's like, oh shit, should I ask for like 5 kilos or
what are the units of bamboo?
Yeah, and then a little bit right after, Big Panda Poe shows up.
Goheen,
Mr. Goheen. Reminds me of Gohan.
Yeah, and Goheen had a sense too. He was like, "What do you need, Legoshi? Like, why are you back here?"
And again, one of the questions answered from our last season from the podcast: whatever happened to the panda? Panda's still going strong.
Yeah, and you know? His whole thing from season 1.
He's her master. He's her Roshi.
Well, his clinic, air quotes clinic, is he has like a sight clinic of sorts where he's training carnivores that crave meat just not to do that. Like, and he is a vigilante himself because he's not turning them into the cops. There's no legal basis here. Like, he's street justice, finding rabid carnivores, beating them up, and then training them not to eat meat.
See, this is where it gets confusing to me because, like I said before, it feels like the carnivores are giving away more than... They're putting in more in the pot than the herbivores are, because it almost seems criminal that a regular carnivore is eating meat. But what are you going to do in this animal world?
But I agree, and that's what's so cool about the narrative structure here, because at that same point, they're trying to show you that, like, no, herbivores are people. Like, they're not sustenance for you. Like, we have a society where everyone is protected because we treat everyone equally. But at the same time, what you're talking about, there's just like this predisposition nature that all carnivores have to fight. Because even we start meeting bear characters lately. They are literally taking medication that gives them ginormous migraines.
Subdue their fucking killer instincts, bro.
Their killer instinct and their size. Because bears are just so big. It's like, no, we can't have y'all just not on Xanax, just out here in society.
Yeah, and from
How did the society even start?
Because you're gonna kill. Yeah, no, that too.
And from the vibes that you get from season 1, you think like that the school is in harmony, but no. Like, it's very segregated building between, you know, small mammals, big birds, small birds, carnivorous birds, tigers, and carnivores and herbivores, and there's animosity between everybody,
Right.
you know, and it almost I give in shit to a lot of anime because it's based on high school and school and shit like that, but this takes you away from that. It takes you away from the school. It almost feels like a mini society, like if you were in Mars or something.
No, it's so dope. Like, it really takes you to another world. And I'm not going to find this anywhere else. Because at this same point that we're describing Lego Sheet trying to find Goheen, we're getting this strip club scene. Which is... so, at first, we're following, like, a panther. No, she's a leopard or something.
This is where Beastars is what everybody thinks Beastars is.
But at the same time, it's shoving it in your face just like, this is what you wanted, but we're going to make it... like,
not what you
different and
wanted.
uncomfortable. Like, you're not going to enjoy this.
Yes,
like,
absolutely. Yes, you're completely right.
Because so we're getting this leopard stripping on stage, but there's all these carnivores there because it's the black market. It's a strip club on the black market.
And inner dialogue.
Right, and she's like, look at these stupid bitches. They're about to throw money at me because I'm naked. Like, I'm so hot and all these men are so stupid. Which, like, I'm sure 80% of the time that has to be going through a stripper's head. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I'm sure that sounds like anyone's
but then, like, she starts having inner dialogue about this unintroduced character. She's like, fuck, I fucking hate dancing before this bitch. Like, nobody's tipping because everybody's waiting for this bitch. Little do we know, in the black market, there's an herbivore stripper that is like...
she's the gazelle you brought up
She's
earlier.
She's the main fucking... Attraction, you know?
She's the highlight of the strip club. And, like, the strip club owner is like a mouse himself. Like, he's an herbivore.
Which is so weird, though, because it's just like...
They're
like everyone's turned on by it, but also wants to eat her.
and again, like, we're getting this inner dialogue from her even, because once she starts stripping, it's like, no, she's saying it out loud. She's saying it to, like, the jaguar, cougar, whatever the fuck this bitch is, where she's like, nah, you're not making money because I can get them at 2 points. Like, I can get them sexually.
Horny and hungry.
Yeah, I can get them horny and hungry because she's got, like, giant tits and she's getting naked on stage. But at that same time, she's a fucking gazelle. So this is, like, the best meal that they could ever have.
Hey, and shout out to the strip club owner keeping a gate to protect his dancers.
Yeah.
Good job.
Right.
I like it, you know?
Because he was approached by patrons that were like, yo,
I'm going to eat the fuck out of that bitch.
Well, no, they were like, let the gazelle strip without a cage. And then he presented the idea to her. And she was like, I can do it. I can strip in front of all these carnivores without a cage on. And he was like, no, fuck no. Like, I'm not having you eaten. Like, it's absolutely not happening right now.
Protect your dancers, strip club owners.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like...
Yeah. And so
job,
we go through this whole, like, 5-minute sequence scene. That's her literal strip show. Gazelle stripping, and like it's not trying to make you uncomfortable, but it is uncomfortable. It's like, if you think this is hot, like, that's on you, and that's something you need to reflect on. Like, it's not trying to, like,
it's part of the story.
Yeah, like, yes, it is a sexual scene, but it's not meant to sexualize her. It's trying to describe something that actually would happen in a society with mixed herbivore and carnivore species. And you get that oh fuck moment, like right before a scene transition where a normal like commercial would be, because the cage goes down. Like, she gets fully naked, she's doing her strip show, and the cage around her, protecting her from these rabid carnivores, just goes down, and you're like, oh fuck, she's about to be eaten. And
I would like to describe that scene that you're talking about, because at this point, her inner dialogue, along with the music, it's peaking as far as like,
oh yeah,
the representation of everybody around her, because she's like, look at these fucking weirdos, horny and hungry,
and she's thinking that like the gate,
and she's like, but I'm getting their fucking money, blah blah blah. And at the same point, the music peaks, her inner dialogue on that subject peaks, and then the fucking cage, dunk.
No, I'm glad you brought that up.
It just fucking drops, and she, like a ghost, bro. She turned pale. She's like, holy shit, what the fuck just happened?
And then I think that's when one of them's like literally went up to her, like trying to eat her.
I think it was a tiger, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was a tiger?
Mm-hmm. It was and but he then, like grabbed her and like grabbed her by the head,
squeezing the
and like pulling her neck, and she just kind of like gave in. She's like,
I guess this is my time.
Almost like Haru when they were at the motel.
Right.
Yeah.
And at that same time, the Shishigumi come in. The lions, we hear Louis' voice in the background, which, like, every time he's on scene, like, it sounds like something out of Shakespeare or something. Like, he really presents every scene like he really is a top-tier actor. And earlier than this, we had a scene where where Louis, as the representative, as the leader of the Shishigumi, is approaching, like, a meat market vendor. And he's showing him, like, no, I'm the boss.
The
like,
snapping turtle.
Yeah, if you have an issue with, like, these lions, like, you come to me. Like, we'll make a deal, I'll protect you, like some mob shit. Mm-hmm. And right here, this reiterates that scene from earlier where it's like, no, these lions listen to me. Because they beat the fuck out of this tiger. Because if the black market is the Shishigumi's domain, you don't fuck with things that are under their protection, right?
Correct.
Like, or you're subject to getting your ass beat by the mob.
Correct. And the way they interact with this butcher shop, with the turtle, I mean, Louis is a fucking herbivore, and he's there, and he's like, yo, bro, you know we sell fucking deer meat too, right? It's like, yeah, I don't care. I'm just trying to keep everybody safe.
The snapping turtle doesn't even believe it at first.
Correct.
Because he tries, like, provoking, like, he starts talking shit about
thugs.
Louis.
Yeah.
And then the other lions come in, and he's just like, what the fuck did you just say about my boss, bro? And he's like, whoa, I was just testing you. I was just making sure he was the boss. Please don't fucking shoot my kneecaps off.
and then that conversation compared to the conversation where they're beating up the fucking tiger, they're like, yo, bros, like, this is not the place. If you want to get some meat, you buy it at the market, because it's their own economy as well. Like, the money flows... Sorry about that, guys. The money flows into the same, you know, the mafia.
Uh-huh.
And they speak to the fucking owner of the strip club, and it turns out that the fucking hating ass cheetah girl pulled the liver.
One who, that's right.
And removed the stool because the strip club owner is like a little weasel.
Yeah, he's like a 2-foot tall mouse, so he can't reach this giant lever to open and lower the cage without his stool. So it's just this hating that bitch. And they, like, beat the shit out of her, too. They make an example out of her. And this gazelle starts talking shit to Louis in the same sense that the snapping turtle was. Because she's like, you're not really the boss, bro. Like, you're like a 17-year-old deer. Like, go fuck yourself. You're not really the boss. And she tries pissing him off, too. And the lions are like, yo, what the fuck did you just say about the boss? And she's like, whoa. So we get this same scene, like, an episode or two apart. That's just reiterating that, like, yo, like, Louis is really the boss.
Yeah, and I really liked it, even though I didn't really understand it. But, like, the loyalty or the honor code that these mobsters had, they're like, they really care for Louis.
And the music, going back to our conversation earlier, reminds me of Cowboy Bebop, because it's like it's a really drawn out, like, French horn or trumpet. I want to say it's a French horn, right?
I want to say a French horn.
It sounds like this ugly, like, blaring, talking to you in a voice.
Long, like the
right.
Yeah.
It's these long, drawn out notes that go up and down, coming out of a French horn that sounds like it's talking to you. And it really feels like those scenes out of Cowboy Bebop where he's at the bar and he's about to beat the shit out of somebody.
Yeah.
So, like, me, as an audience member, like, I grew up with Cowboy Bebop. We watched it last year. Like, I'm just like, yo, like, somebody's about to get, like, popped in the face. Like, there's about to be a giant fight that's about to... Because it's trying to trigger you by bringing up these old, like, classic works.
Yeah, absolutely.
But and nothing happens out of that. He just smooth talks his way out of it. And he's just like, hey, Miss Gazelle, like, if you want to be under our protection, you gotta, like, understand that... You know what I mean? Just mobster shit. And which takes me back to The Godfather and, like, Scarface almost.
And Louis is really taking that I'm taking care of my own at the street level kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm gonna be the...
He's the cartel, man.
If I'm gonna be the boss of this organization, I'm gonna make sure my people
are protected.
It's like Narcos or some shit.
It's
like
so,
you build the schools and then the everyday people, like, will protect you. You know what I mean? Like, he's taking care of everybody at the ground level.
it is fucking amazing, and we don't really get a very good way of how these characters are aged, because even the Gazelle is older.
Right. She ends up being almost 30 or something. Correct. She's like 26 or something.
And they
like that.
end up meeting at a bar, right? Right after.
Yeah.
And I think that's when, like, she orders him, like, a veggie drink or something like that.
I love that you brought that up, because we haven't even mentioned it. Louis is suffering from malnutrition.
Right. He's like starving. Like, they actually show this one scene where they're all eating steak again, and then he goes into the other room and, like, spits it out, and he's like, fuck, like, he's like, fuck, I'm dying here. And then I think his right hand, what's his name?
Ibuki.
Yes. He's like, here, I think he gave him, like, a salad or something like that.
Yeah, it was like an Albertson style, like, packed salad or something.
And the dialogue is hilarious to this world building, because it's like, I've really never bought in vegetables before. I hope this is alright. So it's just like a mix of veggies. Not really a salad.
Yeah.
But just like a mix of veggies. Mm-hmm. And he's like, and Louis gets offended. He's like, you just want me to scarf this shit down.
You just want to feel that power over me.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And he's drinking energy drinks just to get by. Like, that's why he's losing weight, too. His only energy is coming from just, like, downing energy drinks.
And again, thank you for bringing that up. In season 1, Louis looks like Louis, but in the second season, you can see the animation in his neck area and in his lower jaw that he is getting skinny.
He's getting gaunt.
Yeah.
And they keep putting him in this purple suit. It looks boss as fuck. Like, don't get me wrong.
No, the burgundy suit.
Yes. Okay, you're right. Oh, sorry, I don't know my color. You're right.
It's a fucking suede burgundy fucking suit with a black tie. It's amazing.
It's like 2 different shades of burgundy, which is wild in and of itself. And he's wearing a black tie, so he looks boss the fuck up. And he's just like, so like when that's introduced in front of the snapping turtle, you're like, yo, he really might be the boss. Like, this guy's showing up like this.
Might as well be Bill from Kill Bill, bro.
The funny part is that he's just a 17-year-old.
I think he might be. I think I misspoke by saying he was 17. He might be 18.
I'm just saying, like, regardless, he's in high. Well, he's supposed to be.
This is an issue for me in a lot of animes. Like, last time in Durarara, a lot of the storytelling did not sit right with me, because it was a good story, but I'm like, why did you push the teenagers on?
Which was again with about 15-year-olds being fucking gangster bosses.
Yeah.
I was 15. I was nowhere near a gangster boss.
I was playing World of Warcraft, bro.
Yeah.
And he gets like a surprise visitor at the end of the scene. So Louis having this conversation with Ibuki. He's like, yo, don't treat me like a fucking kid. Don't treat me like an herbivore. Like, I need to take care of my goddamn self. And then at the same time, somebody walks in, and Louis gets mad. He's like, what the fuck do you want? Like, I'm having a conversation. He's like, sorry, boss, somebody's here to see you. It's a young wolf. And at first, we think it's going to be Legoshi. You know what I mean?
Oh, shit, Legoshi found him. Yeah.
But it turns out it's
Juno,
the female wolf from season 1. Like
which threw me off because I was like, wait, she knows?
Bro, last season we didn't like her girl.
No,
not at all.
You know what I'm saying? I believe she got a lot of depth in this few episodes that she was in.
It's because she's like a neurotic child in season 1. In season 2, they start treating her on the level of the other young adult.
Well, also she was like a freshman too last season.
She's still season 1. Yeah. We're only 6 months after the first episode of season 1 here, because it's
she's a senior now.
It's 6 months after when Tem died, which would have been in like January. So we're in like June, July, and we're maybe like, because even season 1 starts a few months after Tem died. So Juno's still a first year, but because of like her being like she had her heart broken a couple times by Legoshi, she's been introduced to like the adult real world nature of somebody like Louis. She starts to see like her own as a character.
And that episode ends on Juno being there to speak with Louis. Next episode it jumps into a flashback at the festival, at the New Year festival or some shit like that, right?
No, it immediately picks up on this conversation
when Haru gets kidnapped.
Not yet. Because it's immediately just goes to this conversation between Juno and Louis, the very next episode.
I think that's when she's like,
why
aren't you coming back?
When they're walking?
Yes.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, because his bodyguards tried going with him. The lions tried going with him. He's like, no, like, I can hang out with this wolf by myself. Don't worry about it. And that's when, again, they're like, oh, our boss is so fucking tight.
That's so badass.
That deer's gonna go out there with that wolf like that. Like, that's so fucking cool.
Brave.
And to Vianney's point, she's trying to talk like, why aren't you at school? What are you doing? The acting troupe needs you. They're trying to make me.
But she's not even acknowledging. Well, she is, but she's not really like being like, what? Like, you're the leader? You know what I mean? Like, she's just more of like, why don't you go back? Like, we miss you.
Which is what he misses. He misses being treated like a high school idol as opposed to like the boss of the Shishigumi.
Yeah, and this is where we see his quote unquote sacrifice. Because like I'm giving away what I love, which is acting and theater club and shit.
Well, he also knew that he was the next in candidate to be the next Beastars. So he's like, I'm giving away this prestigious title.
But then he also does love acting, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not really about the Beastars. Because we even had a piece of dialogue with his father, Melon.
It's the next episode.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that I believe the piece of dialogue was like, you were never there for any of my performances, giving me the understanding that he really cares for acting,
right?
You know, and that's what I'm saying. Like he's still like, no, I'm gonna give this away, like just like Legoshi gives Haru up.
Well, but right before that, the point I want to bring up in this conversation with Juno is that he's trying to. He wants to be the boss of the Shishigumi because he feels this insecurity about how he was almost treated like livestock when he was a child, and he was almost sold as a child for venison, for meat. And this is him overcoming that shortcoming in his life. Like, he has to feel power over that point in his life at all times, which is that's like the secretive, like, untold narrative in this conversation with Juno is just like, he can't express himself as being insecure, as being over that. And that's why he needs to stay in the position he's in. And they do this weird, like, dancing scene, and they're talking about acting and narrative delivery. And, like, what both of you were talking about, that's where he misses that acting version of himself.
Because even he realizes, and Juno mentions, like, you're getting rusty.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know, I just feel like he really felt that. And I don't know. Juno is she gets feelings. She catches feelings like right away for anybody.
Apparently, yeah. Like even just dancing, she's like, "Oh my god, he's dreamy."
She even brings up that his dancing was ass.
Yeah. But that's when she's like, "Wait, what am I doing?" Like,
yeah, she was like, "Oh, he's trying to seduce me." He's like, "No."
And then she runs away very
I'm gonna do the right thing and go to the theater club and I'm gonna show you that I'm gonna be respected and blah blah blah. And Louis,
he's just like,
at the end of that conversation, even when me and V were watching it, you're like, she's like a little girl, and then Louis is like, even though you pout like a little girl, you are you deserved respect.
Yeah, but then from here, I think that's when they end up showing that Legoshi is with Mr. Goheen, sorry. And they show him like strapped where he ends up getting shaved.
Because Legoshi goes to Goheen and he's like, bro, I need you to train me. Which at this point, the character of Goheen, it's a little confusing to me as well, but I know it only makes sense in this universe. But like, he's literally kidnapping quote unquote crackheads addicted to meat to rehabilitate them, which is weird to me. I don't know why it seems weird. Like, I don't know why it seems weird to me that they're not letting carnivores do what carnivores do in this anime.
I mean,
because these are people.
Yes, but it's just weird to me that they're frowning upon this specific subject the entire time in season 2.
It's the vegetarian argument, but for an entire anime. That like you can't eat meat because animals are people.
That makes sense.
You can't make the argument that your soul, that your life, that your existence is above anybody else because you eat them.
Have you ever seen like Basketball Diaries with Leonardo DiCaprio?
No,
he's
I've never watched anything ever.
No, he's a very a very good like basketball player in his high school, but he gets into drugs.
Leo?
And he starts doing like sex for pay for drugs.
No.
And then some guy gets him and he locks him up in the house and makes him like weed off the drugs and stuff.
Nope.
It just reminds me of that. Yeah. Nope. Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio did Sex for Pay in a movie called Basketball Diaries. It's a great fucking movie.
I've never even heard of that.
Watch it.
Okay.
It's like 16-year-old Leonardo DiCaprio. It's crazy.
That's awful.
Yeah,
why did they let him do that?
It's awful, bro.
But
Legoshi is shaved.
Legoshi is shaved, and he has a muzzle on, and he's sitting like in like a straitjacket inside of a room, in like a freezer closet almost, with a hanging giant piece of meat. Because Goheen's like, okay, the whole thing is here, we're going to treat you like boot camp or something. So we're going to shave you down, cut off your hair so that you don't have a sense of self. And then we're going to train you to never crave meat ever.
Like a monk almost.
Yeah, like a monk. Like, we're going to put this temptation in front of your face. Which makes sense, because Japanese, like, Buddhism and Taoism are, like, very closely intertwined. And part of Buddhism would be to like resist temptation always, right?
And remove yourself from your so-called identity that you portray for yourself. Right.
So that's exactly what's happening here. So he's meditating on it for every night for several months
in front of a hanging piece of fucking meat.
And then you see like the same same colors,
animation.
Like, yeah, there you go. With Louis, yeah, right?
Yeah,
yes.
That Louis had when he was about to eat the steak.
Exactly. But like with him, with Legoshi, it's just a little more intense because like
he likes the smell.
Yes, where he's just like, oh my god, I'm gonna just go at it.
Yeah.
Well, what we saw in episode 1, season 1 of Beastars is that like when he gets that scent in his nose to like to hunt, to feed, he goes like full berserk mode. Like it's a whole sense that goes into his muscles, into his nervous system. That's like, you have to feed now. Here's the energy to do it.
Yeah, and I think you're referring to like of what my understanding was, that his animal instinct is being animated through this orange glow from his center of his body. Right. So when he's one of the first times that we see him locked in this room with a piece of meat, you can see that inner glow, almost like a Dragon Ball Z Saiyan. Like, it cooked me really bad because I really kind of want to see a power system in this anime. It cucked you? No, it caught me.
Oh, it caught you? Okay.
Yeah, like it reeled me in.
Okay.
A lot, because I'm like, wow, I really want to see that expand, like a power system in Lego Shi.
Right.
Almost. Which we kind of do, but...
Which is annoying that we almost do by the end.
Yes.
No, I get exactly what you're talking about. Because these initial scenes is like, he's being ostracized from class because he starts going back to school, even though he told his best friend that he was going to do it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's like, I'm just going to keep going because then, if not, he might attack someone else. I'd rather him attack me than someone else.
Right. So at the same sense, this is where he really, really starts to understand that it's somebody in the theater troupe. Because that's the only people Tem would trust around him.
At night.
Yeah, at night, to give them an opportunity to eat him.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes to the theater troupe and he's like, hey guys, I can't really clean as much after school, because he's not telling them that he has to go train with Gohin.
And this is where he goes full Batman.
Yeah.
Like, he's Playboy by day, Batman by night.
Right.
And he's just fucking hanging out, like, no sleep whatsoever.
And he's again figuring it out, because he's hanging out with the theater troupe. And one day, like, an accident happens. It's treated as like a real world accident that almost happens often in this multi-herbivore carnivore society, where they're at theater practice and an herbivore, an ant eat, which isn't even an herbivore, like they eat ants. Like, how is that not an herbivore?
Well, insects don't matter, bro. They don't have rights.
A smaller
Hashtag
carnivore.
Fight for bug rights.
An anteater that's in the theater troupe gets his arm ripped off by a panther. Mm-hmm. And it's like super dramatic when it happens, because we're seeing it through Louis' perspective, where he's just like handling theater equipment and cleaning up, and he's just thinking to himself, he's like, I wonder about this, I wonder about that, and he's just so lost in his thought that all of a sudden, us as an audience, we're just taken away by just this rabid screaming of this anteater that just had his whole ass arm ripped off.
And we start getting they start serving us the they start serving us the mental, quote unquote, I don't want to say illness. I feel like illness is a bad word, but they're starting to service the mental hurdles that carnivores have to go through, because when that arm ripping happens, Legoshi in the inner dialogue is like, it's not uncommon that a carnivore just stops paying attention to their strength, just like a superhero would, and just rips somebody's arm off.
And all the carnivores in this exact instance, like, it's their job to jump on the carnivore that just committed harm. So you see the eagle, the tiger, and everybody just jump on the dude. They're jumping on the panther and just like, what the fuck? Like, they, like, arm locks on each end. Like, there's 4 bigger animals on him. He's just like, it was an accident, guys. It was an accident. I'm sorry. But they still have to treat him with extreme caution.
It's like a PC frat party, bro.
It's the carnivore's job at all times to protect the weaker animals.
Mm-hmm.
Can I backtrack a little bit?
Yeah.
Before that, remember that there's a scene where they're doing that, like, tug of war part.
You're right.
Where, like, well, there's... Oops, like, that's okay. Where it's just kind of, like, showing that Legoshi's losing all this strength that he used to have on, like, with his jaw, and now he's just super weak. Like, he literally...
Correct. Yeah.
That tiger literally just, like, pulled him like it was nothing.
Us as an audience are made to believe that Legoshi is getting stronger spiritually and quote unquote physically, but when we get to this moment in theater club, the carnivores are really having like a heart to heart with the herbivores in the class. Like, they're trying to get to know each other a little bit better, and the game of like jaw wars or some mandible wars or some shit like that comes up.
Yeah, like
and the herbivores are like, can you guys show us? I'm like, yeah, we can do it. And then some of the carnivores are like, nah, dude, don't do that here.
It's gonna scare everyone else.
That's meant for us in our own time, because it gets out of hand sometimes. And then Tony the Tiger, I can't remember his fucking name, but Tony the Tiger, he's like, hey, Legoshi, it's like, because of that shit that you pulled in the theater, it's like, come on, let's fucking go. And what you say, fucking Legoshi just, he's like, okay, I'll fucking do it.
And he even got like...
He got cocky for a
His
second.
name is
even
Bill.
got...
Bill the Tiger.
Bill the Tiger.
Yeah, but Legoshi even got like really set in mind where he's like, okay, I'm just gonna take this serious because this is gonna let me figure out who, or it'll get him closer to find out who it was, you know,
who Tim's murderer was.
Yeah. And then he's actually weaker because he's not eating meat.
Because Bill just manhandles him like immediately. So it's tug of war amongst like a couple meter length like piece of string. They just get down on their hands and knees, put the string in their mouths, and it's just the stronger jaw is supposed to win, right? And that's a stronger, air quotes, carnivore.
Yeah.
And Legoshi just gets washed right away.
But even though like that happens, he like all those stuff, like he's just getting stronger as like spiritually, because you even see him while still training that he even touches the meat where like he doesn't even how do you say, like, no se le antoja.
And Gohin is like, damn, he's been there for a while, I'm gonna check on him, and because he hadn't heard anything. This is after the tug of war shit, because He literally gets almost humiliated, and he feels ashamed. He's like, holy shit, I'm super weak.
Well,
and I thought I was getting stronger.
Even before that, we have a scene with Pina, where Pina is being walked around like the storage room with Legoshi. And Legoshi's weaker because he's been training with Gohin. And this is where we first start getting that sense that he's weaker. Because he's like, he feels really confident in his sense. By not eating meat, he just got a haircut by Gohin so that he seems less rabid and less wolf-like. So he basically looks like...
Everyone's even saying, like, oh, he looks cleaner. And, like, they're all just, like, at awe with him.
Juno even says, like, oh, shit, he looks so handsome, clean cut. And this scene with Pina in this storage closet, just them two together, really, again, feels like Berserk. Because it's... As opposed to it being the normal Louis... and Legoshi scene, it's now Pina and Legoshi, and Pina is almost treated as I think the term's omnisexual. Like, he's down for anybody as long as he's good with their personality.
Correct.
And he tells that flat out to Legoshi. He's like, yo, girls are always hitting up on me. A big, strong wolf or carnivore or somebody like that could totally overpower me and do that too if you wanted to. Wink, wink, Legoshi. And Legoshi's weird because he's still a virgin, right?
Yeah.
So he's still like, whoa, like, is this sheep hitting... Is this goat hitting up on me? Like, what's going on right now?
It took him like 2 tries before he realized he was getting hit on by Pina.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought up Berserk too, because even though Louis and Legoshi's relationship, it is like Guts and Griffith, but right here, Pina... And his look, his blue eyes, his almost blonde looking wool or fur, whatever you want to call it, he projects fucking Griffith into Legoshi.
It's the Griffith well bathing scene with that
one lord. Oh, the bathing scene. Yeah. I remember. But Pina,
because Pina
he switches off the lights. And he's like, I know you have your eyes set on a girl and just one girl. That's so crazy. It's like, what's your advice? You just keep it to one girl? And why does everybody hate me for not keeping it to one girl? But if I was a goat or whatever he is, and you were a wolf, and we were in a room with the lights out, which there currently are, and he gets like...
He's getting closer.
And he's just getting closer, and he's like, if you were to kiss me right now, like, I wouldn't care.
But no, it goes back to the carnivore-herbivore dynamic, because it goes back to, like, fetishizing yourself as an herbivore, being like, you're a big-ass wolf, you could eat me right now. Don't you want to eat this tasty, handsome goat that's sitting right in front of you?
Yeah, he was submissive and breedable.
It's because it's again, like... Louis never treated it like this, because Louis always treated it like the opposite. That's like, it was such a detriment.
It was such a turn off.
To be like, to whet somebody's appetite. You know what I mean? Like, I need to feel above them. Pina in this instance is such the opposite. It's that, like, I'm so hot, like, everyone wants to fuck me and eat me always. And it's like that gazelle scene from the strip club. It's just like, it's this multifaceted scenario where he's like hurt emotionally that Legoshi won't just devour him on the spot.
Now that we're talking about it, it reminds me almost of the movie Black Snake Moan. Have you ever seen that?
No, sir.
With I believe it's Nicole Richie and Samuel L. Jackson. This girl that is like a sex addict because she thinks that by sex she's getting like the love that she deserves.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like that.
I don't know the movie, but that makes total sense. Because like Pina's insecure. He's 1,000% insecure, but he needs to feel that security by having the attention of both carnivores, men and women.
Correct.
And it's just weird to see because it's like it's this multifaceted, multi-leveled like narrative that only makes sense where the whole premise of the show is that herbivores and carnivores are in this constant battle against each other to live in a peaceful society.
And then before we go back to that one part where that guy's arm is chewed off.
Oh shit! We were.
Before we go back to that, I just want to point out there was a scene where what was her name? The bunny.
Haru.
Haru and Legoshi have this conversation where I guess he's not really paying attention to her anymore, and she's like, "Well, I'm gonna go with on a date with someone else," and like he's like, "Wait, what?" Do you guys remember that?
Yeah,
where he's like,
it was at the library.
Yeah, well, there's this one part where he just says like, "Let's just get married," and I was like, "Wait, what?" Instead of her having to go on dates or anything like that, he's like, "Let me just get my shit together and then we can get married."
It almost reminded me of like ReZero.
Yeah.
It almost reminded me of that when he did like the whole "let's get married and let's start from here."
But see, that reminded me of fucking what's the one that's the Bible that's not the Bible?
Neon Genesis.
It reminded me of Neon Genesis
Yeah,
Evangelion in the same scene.
I love you because I love you, and I don't care if you don't love me back.
Because it's like it's treated as this interdimensional, like multi-layered, faceted, we'll always end up together kind of scene. Because Legoshi is sitting in the library that Vianney is describing and just kind of thinking on himself. He's just like, well, I feel bad because I'm getting weaker. Who the fuck does Peanut think he is coming up to me like that? Why did he come up to me like that? Does he find me attractive as a wolf? And he's just having this
like he's
crisis
in his own head.
Yeah, it's just a crisis in and of himself, and then he finally like snaps out of it, looks up, and Haru's just there.
She's like, "You're not paying attention to me." It's like, and when I heard that,
Yeah,
I was
why
like,
why do girls need attention? Tell me, Vianney.
hey.
Tell me, Vianney.
Hey, I don't want to start that conversation. Okay?
Hey, we're already at 1 hour and 30 minutes, guys. Come on, we don't have all day.
Well,
Go ahead.
The chewing part.
I'm listening to Vianney. What were you saying?
No, I just want to go. Okay, finally,
Back to the arm ripping.
to the arm ripping because that part was crazy.
I believe Mark is the anteater.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, they were stretching or something like that, and then out of nowhere, like, was it like a jaguar or what was it?
Panther.
That was,
He was
a
black.
panther. Yeah.
A fucking puma, I guess.
Whoa, Drew.
What?
Why do you have to point that out?
Jesus, why you gotta make it weird, man?
No, I think they were stretching, and I guess he pulled a little too hard, and it just ripped his arm out. And everyone's like, "Oh my god, blah blah," and like you guys were saying, where it's like, okay, carnivores are just kind of protecting each other, and then vice versa.
Right.
And
so they all grab him. They all grab the Puma Panther dude, and they're just like, "What the?" But immediately before this, Legoshi was in the locker room of the theater club, and he was tasting all the water bottles because he's like, I need to figure out which of the carnivores this is. And he kind of gets a sense, but we don't know whose locker it is. And then that happens.
Oh, yeah.
So Legoshi
He finds a squeezed water bottle.
Right, and he tastes it, and he's like, "Oh shit, that's it."
Uh-huh.
And then that
he's like,
arm
it's
ripping
for sure someone from here.
Right, that arm ripping scene happens, and the anteater's losing his shit. He's just like, which of these carnivores can I trust to walk me to like the nurse's office to the?
Yeah, because they're offering help, and he's like, no. The
Don't
only
fucking touch me.
The only one I
like,
trust is Legoshi. And he's like, all right.
And this is where I like to point out the character development in Legoshi. Legoshi is a carnivore. Legoshi is in the theater club.
but all the herbivores trust him.
Exactly. And Mark didn't even question Legoshi going over to him and picking him up. He was like, "Thank you." Like
That's true.
He did not question the fact that it was Legoshi
because
picking him
Bill
up.
the tiger tried taking him, the
He's
eagle
like, yo,
tried
yo,
taking
and
him,
he freaked out.
the panther. Everyone's like, dude, do not fucking touch him. Mm-hmm. And Legoshi's just seen as that gentle giant at the same point that this giant bear named Riz is. Because
and this is where we get introduced to him. He's been in the background.
he's been in the background. He's never been named in the anime. I'm
Correct.
sure maybe in the light novel or
Probably.
the manga he was. But in the anime, he hasn't been named. He hasn't been touched on. But
But
right
you see
here,
him around, yeah.
right? But right here, so Legoshi grabs the anteater and he's like, "Okay, I'll take him." But he sees the arm bleeding on the ground. He's just like, "Can somebody grab that arm?"
We're gonna need that.
Because like what you were
Try to
talking about
touch
earlier, Aldo, because it's such an advanced society of herbivores and carnivores, they're so used to injuries like this that
Reattachment. It's been more evolved.
right, it's standard procedure.
Yeah,
like
correct.
Legoshi's even like, okay,
SOPs,
like,
SOPs.
it's gonna be put back on, like no issue. So Legoshi sees the arm on the ground and tells Riz, this giant brown bear, like, "Yo, can you grab that arm and like take it with us?"
No, I think he's the one who offered. No.
Oh, I think
He
so.
told somebody. He was like, "Can somebody grab that arm?"
Yeah, and then he's like, "I'll get it," and then at that point, like, they're just
it.
Yeah. They get to the nurse's office, and as soon as like they close the door, like after leaving him with the nurse, like she's like, "So I know you did it."
So why'd you murder Tam?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
And Riz is just like, he stretches, like you see how big he is in this scene, like he's so long and so big he can scratch like the roof of
ceiling.
this building, and he's just like, "How long have you known Legoshi?"
Bro, like the studio, as far as Beastar goes, Orange is not gonna animate anything. They're not gonna put something worth in. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like from the first season to the second season, we've lost a lot of extras.
Right.
Like in the first season, there was a lot of extras. They were trying to put you into this world.
There's a lot
We
of
had
scenes like walking down hallways with just random people walking by.
cafeteria, stuff like that. Right now, there's none of that. Like the people,
like, to the point.
the people on screen are
matter.
animated for a reason.
Yeah.
So right now, we see goofy ass fucking Riz because he talks like a bear, and he's just like, as soon as Lego, she's like, "I know you did it, and I don't know why you did it, but I know you did." And he's not really confronting him, but he's just letting him know.
Yeah.
He's almost whispering.
Yeah.
To make him listen.
Right.
And big ass fucking Riz, like you're saying, he grows over the
just, like,
frame,
stretches,
the
'cause-
frame of the hallway, and he's just like a fucking bear. I don't think a lot of people realize how scary bears are.
Yeah.
But
I remembered how scary brown bears were after this scene.
exactly,
Because it reminds me of what's the scene with Leonardo? What's the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio where he actually won the Oscar?
Basketball Dire.
No, where he won the Oscar, the one with the bears,
Oh, The Revenant.
The Revenant, right?
Yeah.
And then that whole movie is just about how fucking terrifying and ginormous brown bears are.
Absolutely.
And even in season 1, there's scenes with Legoshi where they're like, you hunch over and you try to seem smaller to be on like herbivores levels. Riz and all these other carnivores are doing the same thing, because as soon as like Legoshi calls him out, Riz just actually straightens out his spine and stretches out his arms. He's ginormous.
He's like letting
bro.
him know
And
he's like
scratching the roof,
He's
the
like
ceiling.
he's like 12 feet tall with like a 16-foot wingspan, and you're just like, holy shit! Like this is who it was.
He outmeasures like Legacy by like 4 feet or like 3 feet maybe.
And everyone's always talking about how big and long and big Legoshi is as a carnivore.
And he just like mainframes this whole hallway, and he's just like, you fucking asshole. He just rips the
But
wall.
as he's starting to get like angry, or I guess they're about to start something, I don't know, like that's when Pina comes in, no?
Right.
And then they're like, oh shit, like has he been listening?
He was bringing his Mark's bag back
Right.
to the nurse's office.
Ah, there you go.
And they didn't recognize him, and Pina heard the whole thing, and everyone's standing there like.
But he's so like at ease with it. He's
Well,
just
at first
like,
they were waiting for a reaction from Peanut. They were like, "Did he hear? Did he not
Oh,
hear?"
yeah.
And then he drops out the bag, comes back out into the hall, and he's just like, "So Riz is the murderer."
And he's a strategist. That's why he didn't react. He listened, and that's why he reminds me sometimes more often than Louis to Griffith.
Well, it's because Louis. I feel like Louis is the actual strategist. When I think of Pina, I think of like
He was put in there for to put Louis in the in the school without putting Louis in the school.
Well, when I think of Pina, I think of a sociopath. Like, he's somebody that in any decision he makes never thinks of somebody else's well-being.
Okay.
Like, he's literally always out for number one, which is himself, right? Louis had all these other inner monologues about trying to protect this person, trying to help this person, trying to understand this person's narrative. Pina is just always about Pina. So once he hears this and he comes back into the hallway, he's just like, whatever you guys are going to do, whatever you guys are going to do. Like, I'm a goat. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm not going to do anything about it. Like, Mr. Pina, number one over here, is good. So just keep me out of it. And that's like another cliffhanger that we get in this anime.
And then I believe like the next episode we start getting a little bit more insights on the medication that we were talking about with the bear and the big carnivores in this society, and also we're getting this argument between the school of separating and segregating herbivores and carnivores.
Right. So after this incident where the panther rips off Mike's or whatever the hell his name is, Mark, all clubs are gonna now start being segregated along with the school in and of itself, which like is like the selling point for the school. And this is where we start getting the sense that like this like mixed herbivore carnivore school is a novelty, because this school that we've been following is almost like the example, like the beacon of how something like this can function.
And we still haven't gotten a lot of like insight of how the rest of the world is.
Right.
There was a part where as they were what's the tiger's name?
Bill.
Okay, so there was a part where he was just like, what? Like, this can't happen. Like, he was just like, no, blah, blah, blah. But then, I think it was like a sheep calls him, and then, she's like, can you believe it? And then he's like, no, I think it's the best thing to do, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, what? And then
Ellie?
he's like, yeah, there you go. And then he's like, no, I'm just kidding. Like, I was honestly really thinking the same thing as you. I was just playing it off.
I'm sorry, else.
Oh, else. But this scene made me think where I'm like, okay, this whole time it's not even just Legoshi like having feels for
herbivores.
Yeah, like this scene made it seem like I keep wanting to call him Tony. Bill.
Tony the tiger?
Yeah. That Bill kind of had like a little thing with her, because they went into the room like holding hands.
They're almost playing the kid that bullies the girl to like let her know that he likes her almost.
Well, the thing about Els too is that she was
Tim's
crush. Yeah. That's what I was gonna say.
Same one?
Yeah, it's the same girl because she's a sheep. So so in Bill's head, it's not only like the carnivore herbivore thing, but it's also this is his dead friend's girl in his head, which she calls him out on it because he's being fake in this conversation they're happening. Because Bill, like a lot of other carnivores, like you've been trying to describe, Aldo, they can't be themselves in front of herbivores. So he just has like this fake happy-go-lucky expression and persona when he's in front of herbivores. Bill does. And she notices that right away. Like, she's like a real girl. She's like, yo, can you just stop putting on this act for like 5 seconds? Like, I'm really trying to save like our multi-society herbivore carnivore club. Please. Just please be real with me for 5 seconds. And what's even wild about her is there's like a scene earlier here where Legoshi like tried to hunt her down at like this club room for sheep, because there's an even earlier scene where in the cafeteria Legoshi is looking at Juno's teeth.
Dude, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanted to say I'm glad you brought this up, because we didn't bring up the investigations that Legoshi did a little before, which make a lot of sense. But go ahead, keep going.
So you're right. So this is before like he figures out Riz is the murderer. Yeah, before the attack and all that. Legoshi is still like evaluating different carnivores. So he gets Juno, who has this ginormous crush on him, and we're getting like her inner monologue here, as opposed to Legoshi, where she's like, like, why am I sitting down with Legoshi again? He's just trying to drag me on, and he's trying to lead me on, and because I'm a freshman, like, he has that power over me, and it's just like, she thinks that Legoshi's a fuckboy. But we know from following Legoshi throughout 2 seasons that he's just kind of this idiot that's just singularly focused and doesn't even notice what he's doing. And so he's trying to compare her fangs and her jaws and like her mandible bite to his. So Legoshi is literally like inside of her jaw, like looking at her teeth and her canines.
He asked for consent.
He did. This was like a really big deal for him.
Whoa, babe! Thank you for pointing that out. He did ask Juno, and from the last season, if we remember, like, there was the one scene where Haru and Legoshi are having lunch together, and Haru can not look away from his jaw, cannot look away from him and his ginormous jaw. So we know that looking into each other's fangs, just like animals do, like, you know how like monkeys show their smile when they're trying to be aggressive and stuff like that. So it's almost something like that, but it doesn't make sense anywhere else besides Beastars.
Right. Mm-hmm. And what the consensus here is that Juno, as a female, has like a smaller mandible bite, and her fang claws aren't as prominent. So that's how Legoshi knows initially that he's looking for a guy. Mm-hmm. Because he's like, not only are they ginormous because they're who jumped him, but because of the bites that were on Tem, it has to be a man. Mm-hmm. And the only reason I'm bringing up this scene is because in the cafeteria, there are like rooms or like safe spaces for like certain species that we saw in season 1. Like there was a whole room with like a fake moon that's just for wolves. In this scene, in this episode, we're getting like a whole room that's just made up of goats and sheep and stuff like that. And Legoshi looking for Tem's ex-love interest so that he can question her and ask her a bunch of questions really sets off the alarms for all these sheep, because it's just like, why the fuck is this big-ass wolf in our safe space right now? Like, this is the exact opposite person. Like, a carnivore should not be in here right now. Mm-hmm. And going into this scene with Bill, we're still getting a lot of that same narrative. It's just like, I shouldn't be here. Like, why is she so comfortable with me? And that's exactly why Tem resonated with his killer, mm-hmm. which is what we're starting to learn. Because now Bill has this new sense of justice for the club, and they're going to do the same play that they did last season with Adler, except they're going to have Juno because she's a woman, and
they want to make themselves notice that it is possible to coexist,
right?
As not only herbivores and carnivores, but as females and males,
right? By
making Juno the main character of the play,
right?
But after that, that's when, I know you already pointed it out, where they started explaining like the meds that Riz has to take, and like the honey to control him and all that. But they also do flashbacks to how he even became friends with what's his
Tem. So they're treated as like casual muscle relaxers almost. So the idea is a bear over a certain height is just too fucking strong and too fucking big, and they have to take muscle relaxers or else they're going to murder somebody.
And like you said, to be in this particular school or right. this particular academy of Beastars.
Right. So we've seen Legoshi's dorm room is just all canine kind of figures, which is why his dog best friend is there. And it's like a bunch of other canine looking figures. So Riz's is all bears.
Polar bear, and I believe it was like a grizzly or a red bear or
something like that, right? Yeah. But they're all smaller because brown bears are like the biggest bears, right?
Grizzly bears, yes.
So Riz is ginormous. Riz is absolutely like black bears are way smaller in the contiguous U.S. than brown bears.
Correct.
And Riz has nightmares and migraines from the medication, from the muscle relaxers, because every bear over a certain height has to take these so to dumb down their like muscle growth, or also just too big to deal with.
Again, to tell the audience, this flashbacks or this exposition of Riz going through his quote unquote treatment, it's before the murder of Tem.
It's after.
No, when
No,
he's
like
when he's having
friends with
when he's
Sam.
having withdrawals, when he's having pains. This is before when he starts having the relationship with Tem. He feels
Like he doesn't need
like
it.
he doesn't need it.
That's
He
what I'm
feels-
saying.
That's
When
what I'm saying. It was before the accident.
when it's introduced in the show, it's after, because he's having nightmares about him eating Tim. So then we start getting flashbacks through Riz's perspective, where he's having these headaches, where he has to take honey just to offset the migraine pain. Where Tem is kind of like describing him like, that's so mean that they're making bears do this. Like, that's kind of abusive. Like, why would they medicate you just to protect the rest of us? Like, that's so fucked up. And that's where it is. Initially, we're getting like the modern day perspective, where it's like Riz's roommates are like, "Yo, you had another nightmare? Like, are the meds fucking with you that much? Go get a jar of honey. Go get some honey."
And it's awesome how in the dorm room of this bears, like the whole fridge is full of honey, just to sedate
It's hilarious.
this fucking urges to eat fucking people.
It's hilarious and sad at the exact same time.
Absolutely. And then there's a piece of dialogue where Riz is like, I want to be sedated. I want to coexist. But then there's a part of him that he's like, fuck, like I really don't feel good about this treatment. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
I think a piece of dialogue was like, the first person to realize that I'm a monster was Tem.
Right.
He told me that I'm terrifying, but in a good way. And that's when he started. And
The fact that he was just venting every time he had a friend to talk to and stuff like that. Like, he just ended up feeling so comfortable where he's like, I'm not going to take my meds anymore. And obviously that was a mistake. Like, when he told Tem, Tem was like, wait, you didn't take your meds? Like,
and I feel like Tem feels like I do right now, because Tem was like, wow, that's crazy that you have to do this to yourself and sedate those carnivore feelings.
Right.
But as soon as, like you're saying, baby, as soon as fucking Riz thinks that Tem is his gateway to this treatment, he's like, hey, Tem is like, I'm not taking my medication. And even Tem mentions that he's like, yo, bro, you look fucking yoked. Like, you're looking big. He's like, oh, that's because I stopped taking my medication. And then
he was like so proud, like, oh yeah.
I wanted to tell you. I wanted to show you my real self. And he's like, yo, bro. It's like, no. It's like, you gotta go back and get your fucking medication.
And then that's when he's like, no, I don't. And
he
or
kinda
more like,
freaks
no,
out.
it's okay. And then like Tem freaks out and he's like trying to kind of like run away from him. But then at that point, that's when Riz like grabs his arm and accidentally, quote unquote, like pulls it out.
He
The
crushes his arm or something. And it's the same instance
as the
as the thing with the jaguar. I mean, the panther and Mark,
Right.
the anteater.
Right.
And I believe that was just a explanation for this moment right here.
Kind of.
Because
truly
Riz was, his intentions was not to eat him.
yeah,
Right.
I'm like, that truly was an accident there.
There's a term in Japanese manga and like anime writing called yaoi, which is called like boys love, as opposed to girls love when we've talked about Madoka Magica before. And that's almost how the perspective all of a sudden it flips to. But it's flipped to like this super possessive, aggressive, like narcissistic kind of point of view from Riz's perspective, because it's like he's so focused on trying to be Tem's friend that he's being destructive and highly neurotic and really destructive, and he doesn't understand his own strength, and he's putting too much value in somebody that he just made a friend.
Correct.
It's so
Metaphoric in this world.
but it's so like possessively gross. It's like when we watched Perfect Blue.
Correct.
How the fan in Perfect Blue had like this weird warped view of reality based around this one person, which is how Riz is right here. Like, he doesn't understand that his medication isn't about controlling your temper. It's just like, dude, you're so fucking strong and so big, you can literally rip somebody's arm off on accident. And you're right, which is why like that Panther scene with Mark is just like a prerequisite to this, because it's like somebody small that we see character model wise like this Panther compared to somebody that's almost twice as tall like Riz. Like, imagine the destruction he could do to somebody.
I'm glad you're expanding on this, because just like the arm ripping of Mark is a prerequisite to this moment right here. This moment of Riz's understanding of why he ate Tam, and the connection, it almost foils to the climax of our story here in season 2, which we'll get into later. But yeah, the devouring of Tam, Riz in his selfish, psychopathic, sociopathic state of mind sees it as a connection even more to Tam.
Best friend. Yeah.
Right, it's like a 90s horror flick. It's like Silence of the Lambs or some shit, right? Like it's this sick connection that this murderer thinks he has with his victim.
Yeah, like the way I need to be closer to you is by eating you.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like they'll live, like Tem will live forever within me because I ate him and he's now a part of me. And we're getting this same backdrop to like him trying to wrestle with both Pina and Legoshi knowing about himself. Because Riz is a cook, right? His passion, his hobby is cooking for his roommates, right? Because they're these giant bears and they need these elaborate meals just to get by on like not eating meat and
Big
stuff
old
like
meals.
that.
Yep.
Right. So
rice, tomatoes,
all that, it's really elaborate.
It turns into fucking Food Wars, bro.
Yeah, a little bit. And what's weird about that narrative is that he can't taste anymore after eating Tem.
Nothing is as delicious
as Tem to him, because he'll taste salt off the table. He can't taste salt. Something spicy. And his roommates, when he makes them a meal, they're like, yo, can you cut down on the spice? And he can't taste it. Like, he didn't even realize that he overspiced the food he made.
Bro. Yeah.
And so he's wrestling with like this psychological battle within himself too, because a certain part of him doesn't want to acknowledge anything that isn't him eating Tem.
And when we get this flashback of the devouring, he hallucinates,
right? Which
at a point, and we're not really explained as a. They don't really explain it to you of how far his hallucinations go.
I don't mean to cut into you discussing his accounting to his hallucination, but we've seen this scene before. Except because it's the first 5 minutes of episode 1 of season 1 of Beastars, which is Tem running away from whoever the murderer is. So you're right. Like we've seen all this before, but now we're starting to see like all the not blackened backgrounds, and we're really starting to see it through Riz's perspective.
And then from there, we after like some shocking news of how it all happened, we have an episode where it's kind of random, like the chicken and the egg from season 1, where this time it's a cheetah and a sheep. I guess they're like lesbians.
They're part of the student.
Yeah, they are. But like, they just introduce them where it's this cheetah where she's like pretending to hang out with these other herbivores, but like they like to take pictures and post them on social media to get all these likes. And she's like, oh my god, like I hate doing this.
And again, we're getting some like very vague exposure of how the outside world out of the school is, because one of the points that you're bringing out, babe, the cheetah, right?
Yeah,
the cheetah is talking to her classmates, and one of them happens to be a sheep, and she's taking pictures. But then she's talking to somebody else, I can't remember who. But it's like, yeah, that's what herbivores do all the time. It's like herbivores like to put pictures up with carnivores because
they get all these likes.
You know, it's shocking. Popular. It's like cool. It's like, oh wow, that's a carnivore that's down with the herbivores.
Yeah.
And she's having almost like a power trip, almost like, fuck, I hate doing this. But then it turns into a tension diffuser. I'm glad you brought it up, babe, because we were having so much high tensions between the temp thing, and then out of nowhere, it's just a tension diffuser in this little chicken episode, you know, with a cheetah, and there's almost like a girl love here.
And I don't even know if it really was that. It was just like where I think the cheetah was just inviting her to go shopping or something like that, just to kind of like...
Their names are Sheila and Peach.
Oh, there you go.
Sheila the
cheetah?
the cheetah, and then Peach the goat.
Okay.
The sheep, excuse me.
So I think she invites her to go shopping to kind of just like, all right, I can't just be hating on her for posting selfies. Like, I need to get to know her.
Mm-hmm.
But when they do like end up going to the mall, she's like super awkward. She's like, oh my God, what did I do this? And like totally relatable sometimes. But at the same time, like, I'm glad that it was more of a scene where it's like, okay, like I just need to give it a chance. And they ended up like just being okay, which is a total random episode.
Well, to be honest, they become friends once Sheila starts getting sexually harassed. Because
what?
Because Sheila is trying to... Peach wants to walk into something that looks essentially like a Gap or something like that and just look at their winter collection. And Sheila's just standing behind there awkwardly being like, wow, I haven't really gotten off with Peach at all. Like, this is so awkward. This is so weird. And then some other carnivores walk by, some dudes, and they see Sheila, who's like a tall, like 10-foot tall cheetah, and like she's wearing like a short skirt and all this stuff, and they're like, yo, look at her, she's so hot, she's so tall and lanky, blah 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 blah.
There's a style gap between the sheep and the cheetah.
Like, Peach was like, oh, I wish I could get that attention.
She's like, maybe all the boys are
she's like, you must be really popular at school, all the boys must love you. And she's like, no, I'm such a weird carnivore, nobody's gonna fucking like me.
Yeah. And I don't know whose idea it was, but like Sheila was like, come on, let's go find you some clothes, because
it was Sheila's idea, yeah, because she's just like, come on, let's just dress you up, Peach.
Peach,
give you a makeover.
Peach looks like Pam from The Office.
Yeah, exactly. She's dressed super conservatively, and Peach is like, but you dress so cool, Sheila. Like, why can't I be like you? This and that. And Sheila just takes it upon herself. Like, that's what makes them friends. That's what connects them. Is just like through, like, Sheila trying to dress her up. And they learn more about each other, being like, Sheila can't dress in patterns because she's a cheetah and has, like,
already
patterned
a pattern.
skin.
Yeah.
And Sheila can't wear polyester. I mean, Peach can't wear polyester because the wool will make static. And it's just this palate cleanser episode right before we get into like the real fuck shit that's gonna... You wonder why it's there, but it makes sense because it's just building on all the other narratives that we've already been talking about.
World building.
Yeah, exactly.
It's world building. And then, right after that, it's like, again, it's a chicken episode, but I didn't notice it was a chicken episode until it finished. You know what I'm saying?
They also show that one scene where Juno follows Haru to the garden.
Yeah.
And she finally got the opportunity to really...
understand her.
Yeah, to understand her or more like understand why Legoshi is so into her. Because she's like, why? Like, what's up with her? And at the same time, what's her name? Haru? She's just like, hey, like, come help me with this. And like, hey, come do this. Like, not even really caring why she's there or whatever.
Well, what I do want to talk about Juno real quick is Juno has like this weird, like, possessive quality to Legoshi just because he is the only other wolf. Like, Legoshi has shown zero romantic interest in her, but Juno feels like he has to end up with her. And anybody that's getting in the way of that, like, deserves, like, her scorn, which is why she's trying to, like, learn more about Haru just so she can, like, fuck her up later.
Yeah, she keeps, like, fishing and shit.
Right, which is...
Like, her intentions were not good, basically.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's super progressive writing, but, like, in the opposite sense. Because if you were to imagine, like, Hollywood writing, like, a progressive scene, it'd be, like, a woman telling a man, like, fuck off, you don't owe me this, and that. We're getting, like, the opposite right here, where this woman is assuming she owns the rights to this guy, even though he's never shown that.
No interest whatsoever.
No interest whatsoever. So, like, she has zero consent on his side. And she has to learn the hard way, like, from the woman that he's actually interested in, that, like, no, like...
Well, there's this one scene, it was, like, the first episode for season 2, that they're going... It was Legoshi and Juno. They're on the stairs, and Legoshi, like, asks, like, hey, have you heard anything from Louis? And then she's like... Stop doing this to me. You're hurting. Like, you're playing with me, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, wait, what? Like, I'm just asking you a question. And, like, I'm just referring to the point where in her head, she's just so like, oh, he's doing this on purpose. Like,
it's about her.
Yeah, it's really about her. And, like, he's just a little tontito, like doesn't know what's going on.
And that was one of our points, like in season 1. The reason we didn't like Juno is because we knowing that it's progressive writing, and obviously the writer took the decision to make this character, like you're saying, pushy. They're making her the opposite of Hollywood empowerment, like you're saying. Like it's but
also kind of real.
But yeah, but like you said, yeah, it's like real progressive in the opposite way. But when she meets Haru and she's really analyzing herself, it's like, wow, I've been thinking about all this stuff that I thought he liked, but now I'm looking at this small ass bunny.
She's like, she's so cute.
Empowering herself by her sexuality and taking care of the garden club by herself.
But not through her sexuality.
But not through her sexuality.
Because Juno thought it was a fetish this whole time. He's like, oh, he just must like small herbivores. But the more she actually learns about Haru, when she follows her to the gardening club and actually learns about what a hard worker she is, she's like, oh, he might actually like aspects of her personality, and it's not really a fetish here. Mm-hmm. Which is... It's cool that like it's that half episode's written through like a female perspective, because you can imagine like hater ass dudes on the internet being like, oh, progressivism is being shoved through my face because this dude is expected to be a cuck for X and X reason, blah 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 blah. But it being written through a woman's perspective, it's like this really happens to people. You know what I mean? Like everybody, despite like race, sexuality, gender, whatever, has insecurities and has like real shit that they're trying to push through.
Yeah, and if you're not trying to watch that, then don't watch Beastars.
Which is exactly why I mean Beastars is so much more than like the groundbreaking different aspects, the what they might think about trying to fetishize certain aspects about the narrative. It's totally not about that. Like the minute you actually sit down and watch it once, you're like, wow, like it is 1,000% not what I thought it was.
Storytelling, world building, exposition, all at the same time. If
Zootopia was actually written well and like through like an actual like adult perspective,
yeah, it's incredible. And right now, after Juno meets with Haru, where do we go from here?
Well, I think at the end of that episode, she's like, "Hey, you should give Louis a call or something like that," and she does. And all you see is Louis actually just like receiving the call from her and just throwing the phone.
Oh, because she's meeting with a stripper again. Right. At the bar in the black market, which is very comforting, because we know that...
You feel comfort in strip clubs?
Yes, but also... No, what I was going to say is that the path that we are following with Louis, he's malnourished, he's eating meat with lions, he's in the lion's den. You know, literally. Yep. And now he's trying to just blow some steam off and meets this. Well, he reconnects with this stripper from the earlier episodes. Right. And they're at a bar in the black market, and she's like, "Don't worry about it. It's like it's cool seeing you here. I'm glad you're doing what you're doing." And she orders vegetable juice at the bar, right. Which. Then Louis gets like a reaction from him. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, don't worry. It's like, this guy at this particular bar in the black market understands that there's people like me, a herbivore stripper that lives in the black market, right. You know? And she starts talking to him about, you know, you still feel uncomfortable living here in the black market. It took me forever to live here. But then we see when he takes that chug from that vegetable juice, and he's just so, you know,
like relieved
of hunger. You know what I'm saying? Like people feel hunger, and I bet that motherfucker was hungry. Yeah, you know.
And then from there we move on to going back to Legoshi, like trying to practice to fight and get stronger and stuff like that. And
he's Batman.
And the panda, what's his name?
Goheen,
I'm sorry. Don't
it's
yell.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Don't yell.
Where he pretty much tells him like, okay, go pretty much like beat up these guys. And they're just like, kind of like drug addicts. But
It's a cool scene because Goheen and Legoshi are hanging out on like a rooftop, and like they're watching.
It really is.
They're watching a hyena who's like eating meat scraps in the black market.
Bone marrow.
Yeah, bone marrow. And he's just looking all rabid and ugly.
And it was like an eagle as well, no?
No, that was the second instance.
Right. So I'm describing the first example session where Goheen's like, okay, so you're gonna fuck him up, right? And Legoshi's like, yeah, I've been training for this.
But he's wearing this. Oh, you were about to explain it.
Goheen puts a muzzle over Legoshi's face with like this mesh leather muzzle, so that like he can't use his jaws as a crutch, because we've seen that Legoshi anyways has a weaker jaw right now. So he starts boxing with the hyena, and the hyena has like really strong jaws that are specifically meant to break apart bones and bone marrow. And Legoshi starts to realize that his training is making him strong like an herbivore, in the sense that his legs and his limbs are stronger, like he's more resilient.
More to like what can he do to not just simply bite.
And that piece of dialogue reminded me of like animal documentaries. Like I watch a lot of those, and like when you see those instances where the zebra just fucking butt kicks a fucking lion in the fucking mouth, and just gets away, and that's what he's literally describing. Is like, right now I'm trying to use the instincts of the herbivores that I'm trying to protect. And he's just blasting this fool, and it becomes like, I don't know, bro, like Beastars in the first season, I was not looking to get into like and it's funny that I mentioned the Baki, because we know that both creators are related, correct? I believe the creator for Beastars is the daughter of... No.
Are you talking the light novel or the animes?
The animes.
I'm not entirely sure, but go on.
No? Okay, anyways, but it just turns into like this almost Fight Club kind of scenery.
Right.
Yeah.
Because now he's starting to just like Batman style, just beat up on every rabid carnivore he starts seeing in town.
Well, what I was going to mention is like, the other scene of him trying to fight, it was like a cheetah and like an eagle or something like that. But while he's fighting them, the Shishigumi lions were there, and they ended up grabbing Legoshi.
Whoa, Aldo Mendez, you are wild. Did you really know this beforehand, or did you look this up?
No, I heard it through the grapevine of the nerds.
Okay, so Kaisuke Itagaki, the author of the manga for Baki, is the father for Paru Itagaki, the daughter. She was born in 1993, so she's our age.
Our age. She's my age.
She's our age. Her dad is the legendary mangaka for Baki. How did you know that?
I heard it through the grapevine, brother.
That is both last name Itagaki. Miss Paru and Mr. Kaisuke.
She's the creator of Beastars, right?
Yes.
And then he is the creator of Baki.
Yes.
So, like I said, like this becomes a fighting anime. Out of nowhere, it becomes a...
But it's still The Godfather.
But it's
still The Godfather.
And Batman and Harry Potter.
No, nobody forget this.
And Harry Potter, and it's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
That's wild. I didn't know that. I don't know how you heard about that without me hearing about that. That's the craziest thing.
It's okay, bro. I'm a nerd.
That's the craziest thing. I didn't know that at all.
Aldo's also loud.
That's so weird. But you're right. So we're getting this training sequence from Legoshi in the same instance. But at this other instance, we're getting cuts to what Louis is doing and how he's interacting with the lions and stuff like that. Because the lions are really proud with like where they are business-wise with Louis running them. Because they're getting more profit. He's keeping them on task because he's not a lion. So he can be like, yo, like we're focusing too much. We're
a better reputation amongst animals.
Right, and not only that, but he's keeping them on task because he's not a carnivore. He can be you can't get lost with the devourings and stuff like that, because we get this really ugly scene with Legoshi where they're in season 1. There's like an anteater character or something like that who's seen as this homeless character who has like
Correct.
his fingers and like his toes are for sale, right? Like he's giving up like pieces of himself for money to carnivores.
A street vendor almost.
Right, but I don't know what the animal this is. It really is like an anteater or something like that.
I honestly, I can't remember. But I knew it was something recognizable, but I can't remember.
Right, so the scene we're getting right here is Louis is approaching a lizard who's tied up because he's selling pieces of himself that he can give up without killing himself that will like get him some cash and like appease his debt with this Shishigumi. And then out comes this fingerless, legless anteater character at the same time that's kind of like selling him to the Shishigumi. And it's also in the Snapping Turtles meat shop. So the lizard character is like, yeah, do whatever you want with me, like as long as I can keep on living and I can pay off my debts and like I can take my girl out after this and that. And they wheel out this anteater character, and they're like, what do you want from him? And he's just like, well, I'm handicapped from the waist down and I haven't been with my wife in years. So what I really want is just a night back with my wife. So you hear the snapping turtle be like, all right, guys, prepare to rip off his genitalia. And you hear the lizard being like, no, I didn't know that was up for grabs. And it's so wild seeing it. It's so morbid and like weirdly graphic just to hear it. Like we don't see it, but it's so graphic just to assume that something like this could happen. It's so like...
It's so fucking... A24 Scorsese shit.
Yeah,
it's weird. It's fucking
Who
ridiculous.
else would think of that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not... When I'm thinking of these multi-carnivore, herbivore societies, ripping off people's dicks, like, is not where my head immediately goes.
To. Exactly. I mean, human trafficking in the real world is an ugly fucking subject. You know? But to think about it into a human trafficking where you're actually eating the subjects,
yeah,
it's fucking crazy.
It's so wild. It's so, and we know that that Louis isn't completely comfortable with it. Well, he is, but he isn't, because the other lions, like Ibuki, like try covering his eyes in this one scene, and they're like, "No, you don't have to see this." He's like, "Don't treat me like a fucking kid. Like I can totally see this. I know what our business is. Like, don't worry about it." And at the same time, we're getting like cutaways to Pina, Legoshi, and what's the bear's name?
Riz.
To Riz, where they're having these confrontations at school because everyone knows that Riz did it, but Legoshi's trying to train himself so that he can just beat the fuck out of Riz, but he's not trying to provoke him at school so they can beat him up outside of school because, I don't know, anime logic, like he needs to beat him up by hand and he can't let the cops deal with him.
So at this moment with Legoshi, it turns really Batman-ish because we start to see like a vague code that he has that he needs to get stronger, but even the panda was like, dude, you need to eat something, and he's like, nah, bro. It's like I'm just trying to meet my means through not eating meat, whatever it takes. And it's just weird. I don't know. It's just weird because Louis and Legoshi are starving themselves.
Louis and Legoshi are literally always treated as foils.
Yes.
Always. One's a carnivore, one's a herbivore, one is really like driven, one is very not, one's very loud, one is very reserved. But they treat the foil in opposite perspectives than you would normally think it. Like if I were to give you a story and I'm like, write a really really strong wolf and a really strong deer, you'd write them in a way that the wolf has power over the deer, right?
Correct.
But they're always written opposite from that. Like Legoshi is always trying to drive away from his inherent strongness as a wolf, and Louis is always
tries to expand on it.
Right. He doesn't want to be a victim to his own herbivore niche. And around like episode 22, 23, we get like... Well, before this, I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to point out, like, Legoshi ends up finding out that Louis alive. You know what I mean? Because he hadn't seen him since that one time that he went to high school, like just letting everyone know, like, hey, I'm not gonna be here anymore. Like, I'm leaving.
Right.
And so, like, when he saw him, like, his tail started wagging. Like, he's like, I need to control myself. Like, there's all these lions around me. And
well, how did we get there?
So as he was fighting that cheetah and the eagle, I believe.
Correct.
As I mentioned previously, like, as they were fighting, the lions from Shishigumi were, like, around the corner or something like that. And I don't know if they just randomly got him.
They were looking
as, like, a threat type of thing, or
they were looking for somebody that was interrupting their supply lines.
Oh, okay.
So they saw this wolf and this cheetah or whatever they were that Legoshi was fighting, and they assumed Legoshi was going after their meat supply. So they grabbed Legoshi being like, so you're the one that's been fucking up our supply. Because they tell Louis, like, 3 minutes before this, like, yo, something's going on with our supply lines, but we'll take care of it. Don't worry about it, boss. So they grab him. They have him in a shed. They're beating the shit out of Legoshi. And
then that's when Louis is like, they show who it is, and then he's like, oh my god, like, why is he here? And at the same time, Legoshi's like, wait, why is he here? And
because Legoshi had just been thinking about Louis too. He was just like, I hope Louis is okay. I haven't seen him in a while. Like,
yeah,
because Legoshi's whole perspective now is just protecting herbivores, and like the most prominent herbivore in his mind is Louis.
Yeah, and then, like, the lions end up asking, like, who are you, and this and that, and he even comes up with, like, a whole different identity.
Name? I can't even remember what name he said.
Either. And then Louis is just like, I got it, like,
I like to I like to, unfold a little bit more in that instance, because Louis, Legoshi and Louis is their first, this is them reuniting. They didn't know anything about each other this whole season at this point.
Yeah, us as an audience have been following both of them independently of each other.
Correct. And then Louis, furious of his perspective of Legoshi, he's like, this fucking guy has been eating this shit. Like, this guy has been stealing the meat.
Oh, that's right.
Because they found him in the black market.
Correct.
He thinks that he's eating all this meat.
And he's like, he gets fucking infuriated. And Legoshi's like, I know who the fuck you are. Why the fuck are you here? I thought you were different. And there's a lot of inner and outer dialogue between those thoughts. But then Legoshi is like, he just becomes fucking John Wick. Fucking neon.
Well, it's cool even before that how Legoshi plays it off, because Legoshi gets sat down at the dinner with the lions and Louis.
Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting.
And so they're serving steaks like always, and Louis is doing that performative act where he pretends to enjoy steak in front of the lions or whatever, and Legoshi, as a wolf, lies to them, and he's like, honestly, I don't eat steak. I'm honestly just a really big fox. So my digestive system can't let me eat meat like this. And Louis looks at him and he's just like, this motherfucker. Like, I'm out here like fake eating meat this whole time, and he's just able to get one lie out of it. And that's where he gets a sense that, like, no, maybe he's not really eating meat. Like, that has to be part of it.
I think that's when they, like, just go outside on their own.
On the roof.
Yeah, and then Legoshi, like,
hugs him,
like, before Louis can even say anything. And I thought that was cute because, like, his little tail was wagging, and I'm like, oh,
no,
Legoshi.
because the again, the music, the ramp up in the dialogue, like, we're in Louis' head as we're standing on this balcony with Legoshi, and he's like, this fucking guy's about to attack me. He's gonna kill me right here. We're alone. He's not gonna miss a chance or something. And as he turns to look at Legoshi, almost to counterattack, Legoshi just embraces him. He's like, dude, like, I'm glad you're alive.
Yeah.
And his tail is wagging, and the wagging of the tail would not make sense anywhere else besides Beastars, but he's embracing him. He's like, dude, I'm so glad you're alive. And in the flip of a fucking coin,
He's got like 6 guns on him.
Yeah, the lions have 6 guns on him because they thought that he was attacking Louis, and Louis, to keep his fucking reputation, he's like, yo, get this motherfucker off me, and it just becomes another fucking fight scene.
Legoshi starts like being a little badass and like pretty much beats everyone up.
He just slaps guns back and forth.
Yeah, and then he grabs Louis as if he's grabbing him as like hostage type of thing. But in reality, he's just like, Louis is like, just tell me what you want. And then he's like, well, I know who killed Tem. And then...
Big
it was
gasp
just
moment.
And I don't recall if like he told him right there and then, or if that's where he was like, I'm going to go fight him. Or...
He didn't tell him who it was, but he was like, hey, I figured out who killed Tem. I'll let you know later. And then that's where he just like, while holding Louis, just like brings himself over to the balcony and just like throws himself over the ledge.
Oh, yeah.
So that's like his whole big Batman escape. Mm-hmm. So we're setting up for like this final battle, right? And Legoshi goes back to school and he kind of half confronts Riz. Because there's a scene where Legoshi's in the club doing club activities, trying to set up a lamplight or something like that, like a spotlight.
Let me interrupt you right there, but I would like to mention that right before that happened, Riz is like, I can't fucking live like this anymore. So he decides to confront Pina. Mm-hmm. And then Pina, we have this instance when they're practicing in the theater. Pina goes off script and almost telling Riz, like, yo, bro, I'm not scared. You want to go? Let's fucking go.
Well, the lead up even to this scene's dope, too, because we're seeing that Pina's totally a fuckboy, right? Because we got that sense from Louis last season, but he was super dedicated to Haru, and he played girls, but, like, he was very insecure in and of himself. Like, because he was, like, a rescue, sort of. And the thing about Pina is that he really is just like a handsome, spoiled rich kid. Like, he's just a talented actor, spoiled and handsome. Like, there's no deeper level to Pina than that. Mm-hmm. So we see him trying to like play game on like other sheep and like play game on girls, but he gets their names mixed up. And part of his insecurity is not being able to remember the girls like he's playing game on. So he's just in the restroom, like giving himself a pep talk. And that's where Riz is like behind him, because it's supposed to give him perspective on like where he really is on the totem pole. It's like, you can play games on these herbivores, but it's like you're still totally about to be victim to this giant 12-foot brown bear.
Mm-hmm. And then we go to the scene back in the locker room where Pina is hanging out, and Riz comes up to him. He's like, yo, bro, I'm tired of your shit. And he sucks.
It's in the restroom.
Oh, it's in the restroom. Oh,
it's in the restroom because Pina's talking in the mirror. And
I thought he ate his finger for a
everybody
little bit.
did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just sucked it.
Which again is one of those yaoi kind of things, because it's super
fang showing moments.
Right. It's one of those like really boy love moments, but at the same time it's not. It's also like, did he just really bite his finger off kind of things? But it's him sucking on the finger, so it's like kind of like weirdly like erotic, but not erotic, because you don't know if somebody's being devoured in the same moment. So it's like that gazelle moment at the strip club at that same thing. It's like, are they really into me and like my sexuality, or are they trying to eat me? Which is like that same thing that Pina tried to express to Legoshi when we had that like omnisexual kind of moment. So Riz just sucks on his finger, and just to scare him, because he's like, oh, I thought I smelled honey on your fingers. So
kind of like a threat, like, you better not say anything or else type of thing.
Because your finger tastes as sweet as honey. Or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And as all this is happening, we are still following Riz's sociopathic train of thought of him doing good by Tem.
Right.
Like, he still thinks that he's doing good by Tem.
Because we haven't even described like the actual scene that happened with Tem, like the actual devouring. Because Riz made best friends, or so he thought, with Tem, to the point that he thought he could be comfortable enough to not take his muscle suppressants, to not take his muscle relaxants, to make him as strong as possible. So he stopped taking them, and he gets super strong and yoked, and that terrifies Tem. And he's chasing Tem around school and doesn't realize why Tem's so afraid of him. And Tem's like, all you carnivores are terrifying, and you're so disgusting. And Riz almost takes that as like, he's finally seeing the real me. Like, he understands who I am, so now I can devour him. And he'll live on inside me, as part of my like nutritional diet, to the point that like he has logicked himself into being the right in committing murder.
Correct.
No, and it's we really are seeing this spiral happen, because now Pina is becoming the victim here, and Legoshi, again, like, his whole goal in training with Gihan, or what is his name, with the panda?
Yeah. Gihan.
Gohan.
I always want to say
not Gohan.
No.
It's Gihan or something like that. But back to what you were talking about, Gohin. Back to what you were talking about, Drew. We go back to the theater room when they're rehearsing or they're doing their theater club thing, and Riz is out loud saying something bad about the guy that ripped the Mark's arm off or something like that.
Yeah.
He's talking shit. He's like, well, he's a carnivore. He should, keep himself in check. And Legoshi's like,
He's hearing this, and he's like the only person in the room that knows who Riz really is, because Riz has this dumb, happy Pooh the Bear kind of act going on.
He even has like that voice where it's like, well, you guys were making fun of it, where it's just like, oh, hello. Yeah, like, just very goofy.
I'm just a happy little stupid bear.
Yeah, exactly. And Legoshi gets so fed up of what he's saying. He's like, really, motherfucker, you're gonna say that? And he says it out loud.
He breaks one of the spot lamps.
Yeah, and I love the animation where he's walking towards fucking Riz, because he reminds me of Doflamingo. Because he was walking like...
You haven't even seen Doflamingo from One Piece. What are you talking about?
I have.
No, you haven't.
They've
introduced Doflamingo already?
Yeah, but he's not a main character yet. They introduced him, but he walks like they do like a center shot of Legoshi like beelining to Riz.
It's like the meme of
you approaching me.
Yeah, of Dio approaching Jotaro. That's what I was about to say.
Really? I was gonna say. I'm all lame. Like that Arthur, the kids show. You know how like that, like in the intro, like it would be like the walking thing?
Oh yeah.
That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
No.
But that's what feels so wild about it, because Riz even whispers to Legoshi. He's like, "Are we really doing this right here?" Because Legoshi's like grabbing Riz by the collar, and he's just like, "Bitch, like, you better shut your fucking mouth. Like, I hear you talking nonsense over here." And it takes Pina walking up to them.
I wanted to say Pita. I don't know why.
Fucking Pito walks up and like kind of pushes them apart, and then like Pita takes Legoshi aside. Pina and takes Legoshi aside, and he's like, "Yo, dude, like, stop making drama like out here in club, because they're at a higher level." And Riz has already threatened Pina, and it has now made a showing with Legoshi too. So now he's kind of like made up his mind, like, I need to do something about these two at this point. And Legoshi, just fed up with Riz and trying to like hide in like his real feelings about him, like approaches Riz at a certain point. He's like, New Year's Eve under X and X bridge, like, we're gonna duke it out.
Okay, so now we're approaching the fucking like end of this season.
I'm sorry, we haven't even described like the real scene, because like Riz gets Legoshi and is like, meet me in the locker room after school or something. So we start getting like real action scenes, like the last 2-3 episodes of this anime.
He literally explains like the taste of his quote unquote friend, which is Tem.
Right, because Riz still thinks he's in the right. He's just like, you don't understand what me and Tem have together. Like, he gave himself to me. Like, this is this weird spiritual bond between me and Tem, him and my victim. And Legoshi's just like, no, dude, that's fucking disgusting. You're fucking weird. So they're duking it out, like, in the locker room after club practice. and they almost get caught because people are coming in, and Riz is having one of his migraines from the muscle relaxer medication, and he tries grabbing a bottle of honey from
she's like, nope,
from the locker. Yeah, and Legoshi like chucks it out the window.
Dude, I don't know why that hit me like you're keeping insulin from a diabetic almost. Like
yes and no, because this dude's a fucking murderer.
No, I get it, but like in the same frustration and mental illness that Riz has, he was trying to sedate himself, and he was going for his honey, but Legoshi said fuck no. I don't know, it just grabbed me like that.
The animation on Riz starts changing too. We start getting this really manic like look at it. Yeah, like because when Riz is animated normally, it's literally like a teddy bear. It's just a brown bear face with just these black dots for eyes. But when he starts going manic, it's like these big white pupils and these big white irises and this tiny brown pupils, and it's just so crazy looking. So just not wanting to get caught in the locker room, he grabs like Legoshi like by the neck and just drags him like to like another building, to like the sauna or the restroom or the showers or something like that.
This school is stacked, by the way.
Yeah, this school's fucking ginormous.
Yeah.
But I think that's when they're like, okay, we'll settle it New Year's Eve. Right? Because all these people started like showing.
Well, they duke it out in the showers. That's what I want to talk about real quick.
A little bit, yeah. They do.
A lot of it.
Well,
a lot of it.
Yeah.
A lot of it. So, like, they're punching each other, and, like, Riz takes his shirt off, and he's got all these claw marks. And Legoshi, we know he's fucked up because Bill fucked him up. He let the Shishigumi fuck him up. Yeah. He's all skinny. But when Riz takes off his shirt, he has these giant claw marks on his pecs. And he's just like, you don't fucking understand. I've been living with the guilt of killing my best friend. So now I self-harm myself. It's like some Saw shit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It reminded me of Saw. And Legoshi just jumps on his back and starts like reopening the scars.
He's like, oh yeah, those scars hurt? Is like, let me see you hurt by reopening those fucking scars. And we start seeing a lot of the dexterity of Legoshi.
Yeah.
Because he's now acting like a fucking animal.
He's Batman.
He's fucking punching this huge ass bear.
Batman.
He's
just Batmaning.
and Batmaning. And it just becomes this a very like intense moment, but it gets interrupted by the person that cleans the sauna.
Yeah, which like I thought was a really cool scene because it reminded me of just like little Mexican ladies when they're trying to clean like an office or something.
They even did the voice.
Housekeeping. Like I'm just this little shrew and I'm here to clear the restroom.
Hurry up in there.
And Riz just puts on his fake fucking stupid bear voice. He's just like, hold on, just give me a second. We're almost done here.
And Legoshi has like a piece of dialogue like, oh wow, like this was really not trying to get caught.
Yeah.
And shit. So Legoshi gets fucking pissed off again and they go at it again. I can't remember the sequence of the fight, but
they just kind of give up because they're like, we gotta stop or else she's gonna walk in here. So that's when Legoshi...
Like, they needed to go away before she went back in.
So that's when Legoshi comes up to me. He's just like, New Year's Eve under X and X Bridge, we're gonna duke it out.
And to what I was going with, that we're approaching the end of this season. And as all this is happening, we are also seeing a breakdown of Louis' facade to the Shishigami.
Before that,
Shishigumi.
It's Haru and Legoshi again, where she says that she loves him, but then at the same time she's like, the more I love you, the more I think of Louis. And it's just like, wait, what?
Which immediately turns Louis off. I mean, Legoshi off. Because he's just like, what the fuck did you just say to me?
Like, oh my god, this is the first time she tells me I love you. And then she's like, but I'm thinking of Louis.
And again, this moment seemed a little bit forced because we do want to see Haru. But when she pops in this season, like, it's very like...
It just kind of like aggravates you every time she does.
Yeah.
Because what... It's because the initial scene in like episode 2 or 3 of season 2 that pissed off Legoshi was he ruins his own mood by asking about Louis. Because he's just got fucking Louis on the mind because he's just obsessed with Louis. And Louis is also obsessed with Legoshi.
Berserk, yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking berserk. And what's wild about like Haru's confession of love is she's trying to relate like her worrying for Louis with her worrying for Legoshi. But what she likes about Legoshi is that she doesn't need to worry about him in the same instance, because Louis is super insecure and he needs a lot of affirmations, and he's a deer, so he's weaker. But Legoshi is ginormous, he's super strong, he's super protecting, he's always trying to like make sure she's safe and comfortable within herself, which is like she understands why she likes and loves both of them, but for very, very different reasons.
Correct. It's almost like Legoshi's weaknesses are his loved ones,
Right.
as compared to
Which
Louis,
makes her feel
that,
cool, because it's like everyone, Legoshi's super weird and distant with everyone except Haru. Mm-hmm. And what we get in this very same instance is there's like this another anteater-esque character that used to thought out with Haru in season 1, and he tries approaching Haru, and he's just like, "Yo, what are you doing tonight? Can I come through? Like, can we hang out?" And she's like, "No, absolutely not," because
I don't play around anymore.
Yeah, I don't play around anymore, because she's really trying to dedicate herself to Legoshi, even while Legoshi's trying to figure out like exactly what their thing is.
Correct. And it's like an unspoken agreement between the both, and that's why it's almost aggravating to me.
Yeah,
Because I want to see more of that, but I'm happy where the story's going. And
it's because there's really so much. Like, it's because all of season 1 was their relationship, and season 2 really needs like some real solid storytelling, because the story is called Beastars. Like, we're supposed to be understanding who these up and coming beasts are, and it's not until season 1 has 0% to do with that. Like, absolutely nothing to do with the title of the anime. Season 2 is where you're like, hey, just to remind you guys, this is also kind of like a weirdly political thing about like trying to come up in society. And it's just multifaceted. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so weird when people try to, if they try to downplay Beastars, they try to put it in this weird box that it doesn't belong.
correct.
It doesn't fit into any of these like predisposed narratives that you're trying to put it in.
And as all this shit is happening, Louis, it's almost, we didn't even talk about Louis confronting his dad. He wanted to break off the relationship with his adoptive father, because in some way he didn't want his actions to be attached to the men that saved them. But it wasn't really, that's what I got from that moment.
No, it was because his adoptive father is like the head of like not only the school, because he meets him at the school, he's like head of a department or something, but he also owns a business and stuff like that.
Correct.
So Louis like, I don't want to embarrass you or the family name, so I'm just gonna drop off the face of the earth, and like, please sign this permission slip so that I can drop out of school. And the dad's just like, no. Like, he again is calling Louis' bluff. He's like, you're trying to act like this big badass herbivore, but you're still an herbivore. Like, you're still a bitch to me. Like, prove to me that you can stand up to like these badass carnivores.
Yeah, and I think like the piece of dialogue was like, always acting.
Yeah.
You're always acting,
Yup.
motherfucker. It's like, you're a bitch. It's like, you're always putting it up.
Especially like the last 2-3 episodes of this season, we hear Louis' inner dialogue where he's acting scenes in his head. Like, he's having real conversations with people, but he's like, they need this kind of performance right now. They need me to say this right now. And it's not until like the very last piece of dialogue that he really is just like, no, I'm dropping all that acting bullshit and I'm just going to speak off the cuff.
And that's what I was gonna go to. Like, in this last episode, Louis is trying to back away from the Shishigumi, and we see Ukube, the lion, the second hand, Ikubi, and we see what is our closing
Ibuki, excuse me.
What's our closing animation of the car ride.
Right. So like the not the OP, but the ending sequence, the ending song is a 2D drawn
crayon pastel.
Yeah, crayon pastel. It looks super jaggedy, edgy, like almost like certain scenes out of Akira or something like that.
Or Odd Taxi.
That's basically about like Louis driving in the car with Ibuki. Because the ending of episode 23 is, well, in episode 23, Louis decides that he's going to fight Riz and take it seriously, so he eats a bug. So he eats a larval moth and has like a whole like acid trip about like how this moth is
Life.
telling him to respect life and what it means to really consume life and take life in a sense that most carnivores don't really get, right? So Legoshi has this whole trip with this moth that he eats, but at the same time he doesn't break into, but he puts on a costume. He cross dresses to pretend to be like the stripper, like the gazelle stripper that like goes into that same bar.
He's like, you.
Oh, and I'm sorry. Now that you mentioned the cross dressing, V pointed out one of the scenes with Juno that they're in the locker room and she's like in panties and a bra, and then she's like, it's so weird seeing her like just like that, and then she's like, I would imagine she had like 3 bras to cover all her tits. But this is where the JoJo reference comes in,
Right.
super hard.
Right, because so if you remember our discussion from part 2 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, there's a part with young Joseph where he cross-dresses in like a pink Mexican like maraca outfit or something like that.
Yeah, it
And
almost seems like an apron, almost.
right, but it's super dramatic blush and lipstick and
Hey, oh my girl.
Joseph's whole like writing scheme is that he'll say you're about to say something, he'll be like, you're about to say that I'm about to lose this fight and I'm gonna punch you in the jaw. So Legoshi cross dresses to get into the bar to talk to Legoshi about like where the final fight with Riz is gonna happen, and Legoshi's like, oh, you're about to say that I'm an ugly girl or something like that.
Now you're thinking, why does he look so good on that or something? Something weird like that.
Which is like an exact young Joseph
Yeah,
reference.
yeah.
And I'm just like, fuck, like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is just referenced everywhere if you looked hard enough.
And it makes a lot of sense on the Baki connection as well.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Beastars, if at the end of this season, of season 2 Beastars, it just seems like JoJo. At the end. It just seems very JoJo-ish. It just seems JoJo with animals.
Yeah, I agree completely. Because, like, Legoshi basically tries to convince Louis to just leave the Shishigumi to come watch their fight. And I don't understand in the anime why that has to happen. Like, why can't Louis, as part of the Shishigumi, go see the fight between Rez and Legoshi? But for whatever reason, Louis kind of decides that he needs to drop out of the Shishigumi to go watch said fight. And I'm not sure why that happens.
I don't get that either.
It's weird because just like this instance of that you don't know why it's happening, Pina, to me, was put in this anime to put Louis in the school as well. You get me?
No.
Pina was put in the story to keep Louis in the school scene.
Okay.
You know what I'm
It's
saying?
like you're still thinking of Louis.
Exactly. So Pina and Louis, it's almost like the same character, but the writer, the creator, found a way to put Louis in both scenes, the mob and the school.
I get you, because part of one of the scenes that we like rushed over earlier was after the scene with Riz and Pina, where Riz confronts him in the restroom. Pina is rehearsing one of the lines from Adler, whatever the fuck this fake Shakespearean play is.
Ishigami, what is it? The demon?
Yeah, it's about a Shishigami.
Shishigami, there you go.
Coming to take this person's soul, and like it's about him trying to like go back to hell to like re-get his soul and stuff like that. But there's a piece of dialogue where the victim here, the handsome gentleman that gets his soul taken, who's being portrayed by Pina, is supposed to like scare away, and like he has this whole narrative dialogue about how he's not afraid to embrace death, and how like if you want to come get his soul, come and fucking take it. And Pina's performing it in such a way that Riz in the back of the auditorium can hear it, because he's performing it to Riz, and all the director and everyone in the class is like, yo, like he's really off book, like he's really describing this well, like he's acting the shit out of the scene, but really Pino was just performing for Riz's benefit. He's just like, I'm not fucking afraid of you.
And then there's even like a little part afterwards. He's like, "Did you see that?" Or I don't know what he said.
Yeah.
But he's like, "You got that right. I'm not scared."
And just like our closing has been already like been telling us what's going to happen. We saw Louis separating himself from the mob by shooting his right hand. But there was this secondary plot for him to be killed as well.
Well, like they go into this tunnel, and Ibuki's telling him, like, well, since you want to be out, you either have the option of 1, killing me, or 2, I'm just gonna eat you. And
there was a previous scene that I want to describe really quickly where Ibuki had walked up to maybe his best friend in the lines in the Shishigumi, where he handed this other lion a gun, and he was like, if you ever see a lion approaching the boss and look like he's about to eat him, shoot him in the face, no questions asked. And that's what this gun is for, and that's why it's loaded. And that's exactly what's happening here, because they just got done doing a job. Some other lions are talking to Louis, and they're like, sorry, your face got scratched, boss. I'm sorry, like this happened. And Louis is just like, don't even worry about it. We killed that other group in like all of 10 seconds. Like, if my face gets scratched, don't even trip about it. And he looks at Ibuki, and he's just like, hey, like I have to go do this thing, and I'm gonna drop out of the mob to do it. And Ibuki gets mad, and that's where, again, we get that kind of scene where it's like the carnivores are kind of hunching down and trying to seem smaller for the herbivores. But the minute, like, Ibuki gets mad and Louis is trying to describe leaving, like, Ibuki, like, stands up and straightens his back. And Louis like, hey, Ibuki, I've never noticed how big you are. Like, that's really scary. And he's like, I'm still trying to take off. And Ibuki is like, just get in the car then. Like, let's go for a drive. And like mob shit, I'm still thinking Godfather. You know what I mean? I'm just like, holy shit! Like they're about to shoot Louis in the fucking face.
Because
eat him.
Because this now newfound family that Louis almost made for himself in his own theater psyche, he's still putting up a play for the mob, and now we come into a stopping point in this relationship, because when Ibuki goes at him and snaps at him, he gets shot by the friend that you say that he loaded the gun for.
Right. So it was one of the other Shishigumi members that was following them on a bike, because he probably realized that Ibuki was going to try to eat Louis.
Correct.
And he remembered his promise. And he was like, and that's what we don't realize about that scene when it happens like a couple episodes before. It's just like, is it really about Ibuki? Is it not about Ibuki? Like, it's a whole gang full of lions. Like, anyone could try to eat Louis any second, right?
So we as an audience, we get cut off from that, and we go to the New Year's Eve fight between Legoshi and Riz. And right now, we're starting to see the deeper explanation, or the foil explanation, to what Riz meant by eating Tem.
Right.
Right now, we have a 1-to-1 Legoshi and Riz, and Legoshi is getting his ass kicked.
Well, it doesn't even start like that, because it's
It doesn't. I know it doesn't.
Pina approaches Riz at first, and he's like, hey, today's the day, like what's gonna happen? And Pina tries to set up a camera over a street light so that he can get a confession out of Riz before like it really pops off. And that's where Riz is smart enough to realize, like, no, I'm not comfortable talking about this right now. Like, you're totally just trying to catch me up. And he grabs the camera, smashes it, and like we see him like cutting Pina's arm and makes him bleed. So when we get to the scene that you're describing, where Legoshi finds Riz underneath the bridge, he's got Pina's blood on him, and he's trying to trigger him because he wants Legoshi at 100%. He's just like, yo, I got this fucking goat blood on me. Like, I just murdered somebody else. Like, doesn't that trigger you?
I got your friend's blood on me.
But Legoshi, through his training and stuff like that, he's able to smell that, like, no, you didn't really kill him. He's a couple blocks down.
Because he did smell the blood on him, but he didn't smell it in his mouth.
Right.
Because as the fight was going on, they got close together, and he's like, oh, he's just trying to trigger me. Because I know his mouth doesn't smell like Pina.
Oh.
Like Pina. So we have this fucking beatdown. It's not one-sided beatdown.
I was gonna say it was one-sided.
Really? Okay. Riz did have the upper hand. He was tossing him around because we have like this whole Hulk Loki smash on the ground kind of shit, and we're like, holy fuck, we were watching this right now.
Yeah.
Before the recording.
Yeah.
And that shit is insane. But now Legoshi, for some reason, is split up from the fight by Louis.
Well, originally, so Legoshi gets like slammed down on the ground, like Hulk did to Loki, and then Riz grabs him again and like slams him against the pillar, and Riz thinks Legoshi's dead for a second. He's like, "Don't be dead, don't be dead, don't be dead." And Legoshi's like, "Oh, I'm not fucking dead. Shut the fuck up. What do you want?" And Riz is just like, "Cool. I want to tell you one more thing before I die." And Legoshi, taking from Goheen's perspective and trying to like train him out of his carnivorous instinct, like kind of poses up, almost like JoJo's again, poses up. And he's like, "Okay, tell me what you want to tell me." And he's like on his side, like with his arm like resting against his head. He's like, "Tell me what you want." And Riz like lays down on his back and it's like a therapy session, right?
Just randomly take a break.
Yeah, it was so crazy, the pacing of that fight.
Well, Riz is trying to explain. He's just like, honestly, Legacy, I think you were right. Like, I was trying to, like, psych myself out and make excuses and try to say that I killed Tem for X and X reason, that it was some kind of weird connection we had, but I think I just killed him for the sake of killing him. I think it was just really that carnivorous instinct. And then Legoshi pops up in the Louis pops up in the middle of that conversation, and he's just like, "Why did you guys fucking start without me?" And then that's the start of episode 24, which is Legoshi grabs Louis and they kind of run away for a second to like kind of re-get their bearings and try to understand how they're actually going to beat Riz, because Riz hasn't been on his medication for like a couple days. So he's yoked as fuck. He's ginormous. He has that animal instinct, no honey, and he's about to murder Legoshi.
And I was gonna say, the reasoning that Riz was trying to create for himself by eating Tem, and for me, this part of this type of writing within this animal world of Louis telling Legoshi of where he came from, of being a piece of meat, a subject number 4 marked on his fucking right foot, and just saying all that and seeing what Legoshi has been through and seeing what Legoshi has been doing to defend this one herbivore, his friend that was also a friend with Louis. Louis is like, "Eat me. I need you to eat me so you can kill this motherfucker because I can't do it myself."
Like, so, he's sacrificing his leg that's also marked with like his biggest shame.
We don't know that it's just a leg, as an audience.
Right, but he presents his foot with the marked 4 on it. And he's just like, "This is my biggest shame, and if
somebody's gonna take it away, I want it to be you."
But it's a sense of bloodlust, right? It's like, if you need the bloodlust to kill Riz or beat Riz in this fight, that you need to devour my foot that has my biggest shame on it, do it now.
It's almost like Blade.
Yeah.
It's almost like Blade.
It's exactly like Blade.
It's exactly like
Blade. And it happens. You know what I mean? Like we don't see exactly what happens, but after that conversation, Legoshi goes back up to Riz, and he's yoked. Like he's ginormous. He looks like a werewolf.
His hair even like grows back.
Because there was an instance where he was confronting Riz, and he's like, "Holy shit, this dude is big. Like I can't fucking move. My hair is not sticking up. My limbs are frozen. I can't. I don't have this. I know that I don't have the strength for it, but us as an audience knowing that he already ate Louis, and that's what we're meant to believe. And again, I bring Baki. I brought Baki earlier before this recording. It turns into like this hyper testosterone driven fucking fight scene of him just. I just ate my friend to fuck you up, and it feels like if Goku ate Krillin, or if Goku ate anybody.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And it's like a half-ass fight scene. Like, I wish we got more after this part, because it's like we got 5 minutes left in episode 24. Mm-hmm. And we get like 30 seconds of Legoshi just kind of like pounding on Riz, and then all of a sudden Riz is just like snapped out of it, and he's just like... He sees... Louis with his leg eaten, because Louis in the background like yelling at Legoshi, being like, "Yo, just fuck him up. Do you really mean I didn't mean to sacrifice my leg if you're still gonna lose?" And his right leg's missing from like the knee down.
It's funny because as the whole context came in, you think he ate him at first, but then you think he just ate his foot, but then you go back to that scene that you're mentioning, and he's like a little bit more up the knee.
Yeah, like, it was more than the foot.
Like this foot got carried away.
Like from the knee down. Like Louis' whole leg is missing. And you're right. Like Legoshi does one last big punch into his gut, and Riz like snaps out of like his rabidness and is kind of just like, "Yo, I'm kind of done."
It
weird. Was annoying because I was like, you just ate his leg.
It diffused for nothing. Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the shit out of all of season 2 except for like the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. It's because it just diffused.
I feel like they rushed it. Like we're like, okay, let's just end it here.
It's not like they rushed it, but like the climax, the punch in the gut. It was. As soon as I saw that, I was expecting like a One Punch Man moment where he just destroys Riz, but no, he just I'm done,
and then like fucking walks away. Okay, me too.
Fucks off.
Yeah, and
if I were Louis, I would be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, Louis not even mad. He's just kind of like, "Yo, can you wipe your blood off your face so that you can take me to the hospital and they don't think you did this to me?" Mm-hmm. And it's such a it's not a huge letdown, but at the same time it's like, yeah, it's a little anticlimactic. Like
it was just weird.
I feel like the entire season sits at like an 8 or a 9 out of 10, but then
it's
all
like
of a sudden,
Dexter.
Yeah, it's exactly like Dexter.
Like the last episode is just like, what?
That's awesome that you keep referring to that, Dave, because I also hated the last episode. Everybody hated the last episode of Dexter.
But that's exactly how the ending of season 2 of Beastars feels, because the whole season sits at like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember as soon as I saw the JoJo reference in episode 23, I was like, this is a 10 out of 10. This is the greatest shit I've ever seen. But then, like, the last, like, 10 minutes fits so much into it. And the motivation of literally every character in the scene is just so lacking. Like, the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm like, why the fuck did Louis just offer his foot to this guy?
For this ending.
Yeah, for this ending. Like, for him to just, like, talk no jutsu his way down, like, I'd be so fucking mad. Like, beat the shit out of him. Mm-hmm. And it's just... It ends on, like...
It's almost one of those moments where it's like, did this really just happen?
Yeah. It sits at, like, a 6 out of 10. Like, the whole season is, like, an 8 or a 9, and then the last 10 minutes are, like, a 6.
I feel like the last 10 minutes sits it at an 8.
Yeah. As opposed to a 10.
As opposed to a 10. Because you're saying the whole season flows between a 9 and an 8 out of 10.
Right.
But I feel like the last 10 minutes of the whole season
brought it down.
Sits it right at 8.
Yeah.
fits it right.
Because the very last scene is we haven't seen Haru in like 5-6 episodes, and then all of a sudden the last scene is
Oh yeah, that was weird too.
Legoshi now has a criminal record for eating half a leg, but he's not actually arrested because Riz is the actual murderer.
And it's gonna be hard for him to get a job that we don't know what a job is in this world.
But he's still a high school student, so he's talking to Haru, and he's just like, "Yo, I think I'm gonna drop out of school." And she's just like, "No, that's stupid. You're not gonna do that because like I still need you to be with us together." And Vianney expressed this perfectly because I felt this the exact same way the first time I tried watching it, where I was like, somebody's about to do a confession of love. Like, it's the sunset, they're sitting in front of the ocean, like, somebody's about to do a confession of love. And Vianney's about to be like, they're about to get married, or somebody's about to, like, propose to the other one.
Yeah, I literally thought Legoshi was just gonna be like, okay, like, for real though, let's get married.
Which almost happens, because Haru's kind of like, she's already, like, expressed that she loves him, and he's just kind of like, I want to be together, but I don't want to be together, but he's still, like, an awkward virgin, so we still don't get, like, a solidified ending on their relationship. Mm-hmm. Which is super, super fucking annoying because it's like, will they be together? Will they won't be together? I guess I'll find out in 2 fucking years when Netflix unlocks season 3 of Beastars.
Yep, and fuck, that was Beastars, everybody. I don't know what else to say besides music is awesome. The build-ups are great. Yeah, it was a little bit lacking at the last 10 minutes, but
at that same point, we don't know if that's going to pick up at the beginning of season 3.
And one of my points when we talked about the first season, I was like, I wouldn't be mad if they stopped talking about Legoshi and Haru, and they did.
Yeah.
In this second season, they went into a lot more characters.
And that's what I mean about the anime being called Beastars. Like, it's literally about them becoming, like, individuals and these like standout characters amongst a whole society of beasts and people. But we still haven't got to the sense of like who can really be a Beastar, because the very last piece of dialogue in season 2 is Haru whispering to Legoshi as the scene pans out to being like, okay, well now you can actually start worrying about becoming a Beastar. And that's it. And we don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
and maybe like you said, like season 3 might just kind of fix the
go back to Haru and Legoshi.
No, more like fix the fact that it's like it just kind of died down. That episode was just like
well season 2 started with the people in the student council or whatever trying to decide who the next Beastar would be. And the principal decided that whoever would solve the murder mystery would be the next Beastar. So as far as the audience is concerned,
Tem is not dead, and Tem find out who it was.
It should be Legoshi.
It should be, but that's what I took from the last episode. I mean, not Tem.
Like,
Pina.
What?
Pina found out who he was, but he's not dead, is he?
No, Pina's not dead.
Exactly. So I feel like Legoshi is gonna get cut
out of the Beastar position.
Out of the finding out of who the killer was.
And Pina's gonna report, and then
I think so.
And honestly, that's a really good fucking theory, but we don't know. We won't know for another 2 fucking years.
It's a nerd theory. Here in Between Nerds. Thank you guys for fucking listening to our fucking episode. This is episode 55?
Yeah.
55? God damn it. But it was amazing. I have a present for you for our first year. It's not here yet. But, yeah, just letting you know. So if you want to get me something, it's cool. But I have a surprise for you. But yeah, that was episode 54, Beastar Season 2.
That was episode 55.
I mean 55.
Of Between Nerds podcast. You want to do the Nerd Down?
Nerd Down.
Nerd Down.
Nerd Down.
And welcome back to the Nerd Down, nerds. Thank you for listening to this episode. Episode 55 of Between Nerds. About Beastars. That was great. I loved it. But I would like to remind everybody to please use our monthly hashtag. Hashtag NerdyPause, which for every like, comment, retweet, and use of the hashtag, we will like to help out and donate to the Humane Society of El Paso.
Right, and don't forget, like, your main incentive here would probably be to be entered into our August giveaway, because for every like, I mean, for every original tweet and Instagram post using hashtag NerdyPaws, hashtag NERDYPAWS, you will be automatically entered into our August giveaway, and you have a chance to win, like, some cool anime shit. And the thing about it is we're not re-gifting giveaways. Like, we're not giving previous winners dibs on the giveaway. Like, we are prioritizing people that have yet to win anything as part of our giveaway system.
Correct. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, we would if we had a shitload of fucking entries, you know, but we are lacking on entries. We do like the likes, we do like the comments, we do like the retweets, which, again, help us, you know, it entices us to donate more to the monthly donation-thon.
Right.
But you guys need to use the fucking hashtag, so because we want to give a new listener, a new follower, a new supporter of the podcast, a badass anime gift.
Yeah, we really do. And just getting into some stuff we got into this week. Like, today we watched the newest Suicide Squad.
We had a full day today.
We had a full day today. It's been a wild ass day. Like, we started off with
at 12
flautas margaritas at 12:30, and
it's been 12 hours since we've been doing stuff.
I've been lit all day. and the thing about, like, I don't want to talk too much about the plot about Suicide Squad, the newest one, but what I think is wild is just how much a change in directors can make. Because you go from James Gunn's Suicide Squad to Taika Waititi's Suicide Squad, and it really feels like a cohesive narrative in one movie, and it just feels like a clusterfuck of just nonsense in another one.
Well, the first Suicide Squad got fucking mishandled by the studio.
Right.
The original script had nothing to do with the fucking movie that we got for the first installation of the Suicide Squad, and even in the editing perspective of Suicide Squad, there's a lot of, like, weird cuts and weird editing decisions.
Yeah.
As far as how the plot went, it didn't make sense. It was just fucking weird. It was a shit show, and we all agree on that.
It's because, especially part 2, really feels like it was on purpose. Like, the second Suicide Squad really feels like Taika Waititi was taking this actual comic book perspective of the Suicide Squad that's really goofy, really dorky.
But it's James Gunn.
Well, the first one was James Gunn. The second one's Taika Waititi.
I don't think so.
That's why Taika Waititi was in the second film.
Really?
That's why he got the
I know he got a role in there.
Right.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So when Taika Waititi takes it over, it really feels like Thor Ragnarok or something like that. Like, it really feels like it's a story in and of itself. Like, it doesn't feel overtly tied to some other narrative that DC's been trying for like 15 fucking years already. And it really starts to feel like
Director is James Gunn, bro.
Then why was Taika Waititi in this last one?
Because he's cool. He's in a trouble. James Gunn is the director of fucking Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
He got booted out by Disney from Guardians of the Galaxy 3 because of some past tweets. But then DC got him to do Suicide Squad 2, the movie that we just watched today, but then Disney got him back for the project.
Then what was his actual role in the movie? Because Taika Waititi only does roles that he's actually involved with in, like, the production process.
Nah, he's just cool, bro.
Okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't answer my question.
Yeah, he was involved in Suicide Squad because he's cool.
Okay, so maybe that's where I'm confused. So David Ayer is
he was the writer of the original script for the first Suicide Squad
and the director.
Uh-huh.
So I thought Gunn was originally involved in the original one too, but by the time it got to his desk, that's what, like, chopped it up and got it so fucked up. So then, I think it's really weird that like James Gunn put in Taika Waititi in this most recent film.
I mean, they're both in Marvel. They're both with Disney right now.
James Gunn's not with Marvel at all right now.
No, he is. He's directing the Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
James Gunn is?
Yes.
Maybe I'm super lost. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, he's doing Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I believe. He did the first two.
No, I knew that, but I thought that was the whole reason of him leaving for the third one. Because if you're a Marvel executive, why would you want to be stealing so much from DC's like talent pool?
No, it wasn't DC's. James Gunn started with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and 2.
I said that.
Yes. So he got pulled out by Disney because of those tweets that he had made about young boys.
Oh, because he was tweeting like his bad stand-up at the time.
Correct. And then when Disney wanted to drop him, DC was like, yo, come on, let's make fucking Suicide Squad. And James Gunn was like, yeah, cool. And when Disney, found out the Warner Brothers picked them up, they were like, okay, never mind. Come back to Guardians of the Galaxy. Because Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and 2 are two of the best movies of the Marvel fucking universe.
They made money, even besides like how well you like think they how good of films you think they are. Like they made their money, and that's all Disney give a shit about.
Correct.
So I agree. Okay, I see what you're talking about. And anyways, James Gunn might be the fucking GOAT as far as I'm concerned, because like Suicide Squad this weekend is probably gonna make a fuck ton of money for Warner Brothers, because they've made zero money in the past like year and a half, 2 years. And Disney's gonna see that, and they're gonna market the shit out of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Especially after we get like all these subsequent films that we're getting for the next like year and a half that are just leading up to that film.
Correct. It was a good movie. I liked the movie. It was a fuck fest of shit happening.
It's supposed to feel fun. Like you're not supposed to take it too seriously.
Correct.
Because like even when characters that you knew were going to turn on everybody from the beginning turn on each other, it's such like a joke of a scene almost. Like it really feels like acting. It really feels like goofy.
I really love the directing decisions that I love the directing decisions that they made in a lot of the scenes, because if you follow like Suicide Squad animated films or Suicide Squad comics, a lot of the frames that they do, like the close-ups or like the montages of them walking together towards a mission and stuff like that, it feels very Suicide Squad, which I fucking love.
Yeah.
And you can't get attached to fucking characters because it's just a fuckfest of suicide shit.
Unless that character is portrayed by Margot Robbie. Because even if you've never watched any of these movies, if you just have an understanding of how Margot Robbie's been treated by the studio, she is treated as the star, even in the scenes she's not in. It's always about Margot Robbie's character.
Well, I can give you a little background on the Harley Quinn solo comic that popped off, like, I believe 2016, 2015. I have the first copy of like her first solo fucking comic book, and I can see why Warner Brothers is clinching to Margot Robbie, because I don't know if you're familiar with the animated Harley Quinn show on HBO.
Nope.
Have you ever watched that?
Nope.
Take a look at it. I mean, Harley Quinn is being rewritten as a powerful woman character, and she's also she has a love interest with Poison Ivy. It's great.
Well, her sexuality, even in the movies, has always been treated as fluid, which is like really cool in and of itself there too. Because even in this past movie, she gets like romantically involved with somebody, but it's more about like what they do for her at the moment, as opposed to her thinking through
Like a psychopath?
like. Well, it's opposed to her thinking through like an actual relationship with the person, which is like progressive writing in and of itself. Like,
as he's killing him, yeah.
because you don't watch Scarface and you're thinking about like, oh, but is he really thinking about like what this bitch is gonna do for him long term? Is he really thinking about? No, you would never think that if it were a male character. Like Margot Robbie really treats it like. Or Margot Robbie's character, like Harley Quinn right here, is really treating it as like what somebody in this narcissistic, short-tempered, short-term perspective character would really see it through, which is like good writing. I think.
I like it, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I understand why Warner Brothers is keeping her in that role, because I believe that if they do push the writing within the comics and the animated show and the animated movies of the current Harley Quinn on Margot Robbie, I believe that she can carry that.
If I were Margot Robbie, though, I think I would be frustrated in the current like setting that she's finding herself in.
Executive decisions and shit.
Well, it's not only that, but like it hasn't made the money that she's been promised yet, right? Because she's being, if you even think this past week, Scarlett Johansson is filed a suit against Disney because she was supposed to get a portion of the theater generated revenue, and that was where she was going to recoup like the time and the talent she put into the film. And the issue is Disney started to live stream it like the weekend it came out, and she didn't get a portion of any of that money. So if Margot Robbie has like a similar contract or a similar setup there, she's missing out by these movies all being setup films, as opposed to them being the real blockbusters that she's been promised for the past like 5-6 years. So eventually DC is going to have to put its money where its mouth is and really give the Harley Quinn character like the money it deserves.
And they already did horribly once. You know what I'm saying? This current universe, as far as DC goes, has just been a shit show of promises and bad decisions, bro. Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Well, even the last movie, what was it? Not Sirens, but it had Canary and it had
the Birds of Prey.
The Birds of Prey. It didn't make stupid money either. And Harley Quinn and Margot Robbie's portrayal of Harley Quinn was like the drawing factor in that movie too. So if you're Margot Robbie, it's just like, yo, I keep getting promised that I'm about to make stupid fucking cash off some movie, and it is yet to happen. So you'd be pretty pissed if you were her.
I really like that.
You like the Birds of Prey movie?
Yes, I liked it because again, I'm seeing a try, because the director, the lady, I can't remember her name.
The one that did Wonder Woman.
Everybody was mad. Everybody was mad because Harley Quinn didn't get sexualized. A lot of nerds were like, this is not cool because we didn't get to see Harley's fucking breast and shit. But I thought it was a good movie because I know where the comics are as far as their writing goes. Right. And it felt... maybe the supporting characters were lacking, but it was, for me, it was a good Harley Quinn story.
Yeah, I just think we're just going to keep getting bigger narratives until we really get that blockbuster film that, like, the Harley Quinn character's been promised. And besides that, I'm really, really excited to watch Godzilla Singular Point this upcoming week.
We did watch a kaiju movie today.
We did watch it. It was partially a kaiju movie. Like, the ending was. And the thing about Godzilla Singular Point is that it's, like, the same thing where the kaijus are, like, a minor character in a kaiju show. Because Godzilla Singular Point is almost written away like, what's that Studio Trigger anime we watched, like, the 4th week of, like, our entire podcast? It's, It ends in 3 letters. It's It's about kaijus, but a little girl is molding kaijus inside of her room.
Oh, Ultraman? No, not Ultraman.
The one that's like Ultraman. Ultraman's a character.
It's Gridman?
Gridman. It's Gridman Man
SSSS.
Yeah. Right? So that's kind of how Godzilla's Singular Point feels, where it's like it's about more of the kids and their narratives, like trying to juggle school and handling this kaijus as opposed to the kaijus themselves.
Correct, because you can't put a lot of character development on kaijus.
Like, I think that's my least favorite point about the actual Godzilla films. Like, even Godzilla vs. Kong is when they try giving character development to King Kong or Godzilla. I'm just like, this is so dumb. Like, I just want to see them fight each other. I care so little about their motivation. And that's one of the, I know we're always talking about motivation when we're critiquing anime, but when I'm watching Godzilla or King Kong, I'm just like, I don't give a shit about their motivation.
Yeah,
I
they're
really
like, let's make him look sad in this shot.
Right. I'm like, I literally don't care.
Yeah.
I literally don't care.
He's
I'm just counting down the seconds that he punches somebody again.
Hell yeah. And actually, talking about our recent discovery of the relations between the creator of Baki and Beastars, I kind of want to watch Baki for this fucking podcast that we have here.
Baki would be good, but it's hard.
It is hard.
Because the thing about Baki, well, it's because we critique anime and we discuss anime, because the anime adaptation of Baki is really all over the place. And the pacing is really fucking off. And it's just trying...
It's almost like Food Wars.
Yeah, it's just Food Wars in the sense that it's just trying to get you to the fight scenes. Like, everything around it and the build-up and the characters do not matter. It's just like, how quickly can Netflix animate them punching each other?
I can see that. Yeah, definitely. We can break it down and nerd down sometime or something. But yeah,
I think we'd watch it as a core. I'm just saying, like, there would need to be a certain expectation from our audience that, like, it's not going to be what we just discussed on Beastars. Like, this super driven where we're discussing character motivations and what pieces of dialogue mean. Baki's like, big guy punches big guy, other big guy wins magically and wins. Like, that's Baki in a nutshell.
And I'm really excited for Lelouch of the Rebellion.
Code Geass.
Code
Geass Season 2 is going to be really good. Shout out to Hector Gabriel. Like, he helped us with our last graphic edit when we threw the name Between Nerds podcast on our long-standing logo. And I'm excited to watch it because it was brought up to me at fucking Yu-Gi-Oh! Locals that I keep bringing up Code Geass, Lelouch of the Rebellion without even realizing it, to the point that I think we need to watch it just to, like, bring my other references into focus. Because you didn't dislike season 1 of Code Geass, but you weren't, like, super excited about it.
Well, it was a setup season.
A little bit.
So when I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, I like it, but I need to see more. It's like watching the first half of, like, NGE. Like, you need the rest.
Which would make zero sense.
Correct.
Right.
Exactly.
It would literally make zero sense at the time.
If you only watch half of NGE, yeah.
And Code Geass would be really good, but if anything, the last week of August we're watching Attack on Titan Season 2. Which...
The girls?
The girls, if they're available, I don't know if Karen's gonna have time or not.
Okay.
We can bring Vianney back. She was just here right now. I don't care. But the thing about season 2 of Attack on Titan is, I remember when it came out, we waited like 3, 4, 5 years between season 1 and season 2 for season 2 to actually come out, and we had all these publications of the light novel and the manga and volumes, but the thing about season 2 from an anime only perspective is that it makes zero sense. So that episode is going to be really weird to record, because it's going to be like
all over again.
Yeah, it's going to be like, all this shit happens, we don't know why until we actually talk about season 3.
We know why.
We know that. Me and you know why. But if we were to bring like Vianney or Karen back, they would have zero sense of why things are happening.
Going. Yeah, absolutely. And thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys like our new artwork for our podcast image.
Please don't forget to leave a rating and review on whatever platform you're listening to us on, whether it be YouTube, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Alexa. We're on Alexa Podcast too. Just if you can, please leave us a rating.
Absolutely. Subscribe, like it, comment, whatever. We're here for you, nerds. This has been Between
Nerds.